Well, guys, this episode is brought to you by Colorado native. This is the high country mountain lager going
Nice.
with tonight. A little bit
Lager.
lighter, a little bit
Heck yeah.
lighter for this summer evening.
Uh, I'm rocking a. Let's see. We're going down. We're going down under.
Ooh,
There it is.
nice.
We're going down under. It's a Australian family owned. It's called Bundaberg. Bundaberg. It's a
Love it.
guava. It's a guava sparkling beverage.
Dude, even the color of that looks delicious.
I know
Oh.
you're right. It's very colorful.
I am
colorful.
drinking Emergency and NyQuil. That's my drink of
Right.
the
Yeah.
night.
A lot of
So-
sponsors tonight, guys. A
Yeah.
wide variety of sponsors.
We're making that.
I'm
we're
not
making
even
that
sick.
money.
I just like feeling sleepy,
Right,
Sleepy.
right. We like to prepare.
Well, thanks for joining us for episode, I believe it's episode 229, if I'm doing my math correct. I know I was gone last week, and these two guys were, I'm talking nerding out about some RPGs of
The
yesteryear.
second it ended, I thought about 20 more. And I was like, we didn't talk about Dot
I know
Hack.
you
We didn't
did.
talk about,
I know you did, yeah.
Oh shit! Yeah.
We didn't talk about
Oh.
Breath of Fire. We didn't talk
So,
about.
oh my god, yeah, that's true. Well, also we don't know what the scores are. For all we know, those scores are below the
Yeah.
80s because
Mhm.
the cutoff was like what 84. I think we started at the bottom. So, but I appreciate there was actually an individual in the comments if they're listening to this episode. Thank you for listening. That was like, hey guys, so like you definitely missed some stuff. And you forgot about like Mass Effect and like Skyrim and stuff. And I was like, oh hey, so like we were trying to like have it be turn-based games. And he's like, yeah, but what about Xenoblade Chronicles? And I was like, shit, is that turn-based or not? I forget.
Mm.
I don't remember.
No.
No,
It's not
okay,
really.
so
Yeah, it was a pretty loosey-goosey list, to be honest.
I'd say most of it was turn-based, like proper
yeah,
turn-based.
and most of it was Japanese too, which I think was
That's
kind of the lean in. I think
Yeah,
we
we
Usually-
hate America.
I think we were
What-
going JRPGs, but maybe we didn't make that clear. I can't think of any other games on there that wasn't a JRPG, unless I'm forgetting
It
something.
just happened to
It was
be
mostly JRPGs, I
Yeah.
think. Whenever the current gen crew in any form of list that we're trying to make, whenever we try to be like, all right, we're going to do it the right way. We know how to make a good list. Here's the rules. Inevitably, we get to points where like, does this one count? I don't know if this one counts.
Yeah.
And then we make up the rules as we go. Like
Yeah, you can get real into the weeds about it.
our
for sure.
intentions are good, everybody. We're trying to make the
Yeah.
best lists. The best
No one
lists-
was more mad than me
Best
after
lists.
that podcast ended, and I was like, "Oh, there were so many other ones
Mm.
I wanted to talk about. So many unsung heroes."
RPGs. I know the best RPGs. I
Yeah,
know
I thought that
every
was a lot of
single
fun.
one.
That was actually fun. I ended up listening to it while editing. I just kind of left it on instead of listening to it afterwards. So I liked that conversation. It got me thinking too, like, hey, let's do another genre like this. Let's find
Yeah,
another,
yeah.
probably like a platformer would be a good one to do next, like an action,
Yeah,
like a platforming kind of
absolutely.
a thing would be
Yeah.
fun. But I loved it. I loved it just
Best
took me
open
back.
world games or something.
Yeah. I love a good flashback. So we can dive back into that.
It was easy for me. It's my favorite genre. So I was like, yeah,
Right.
let's just do RPGs, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's just
It's
do
really
that.
easy to
So-
talk about that now.
Yeah, so there's a few actually truly new games out this week. It's pretty exciting. They're very different from each other, so we'll talk about a few of those, as well as a major update that doesn't quite make an old game new, but it is a nice update for it. We'll talk about that too. And then some older stuff that we're playing. I know one in particular that Dan's really excited that I'm finally playing again. And spoiler alert, it is not Dragon Age Inquisition, everybody, not yet. That at some point that'll
In
happen.
a way, it kind of is. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh my god.
It's like in a way, it's sort of.
Everything is kind of
Everything's 6 degrees of Dragon Age.
Yeah, exactly. But the first one I wanted to highlight is out on Game Pass this week. It's called Flintlock: The Siege of Dawn. We've talked about this before as we've previewed stuff, as we've reacted to trailers over the last few major events. This has been something that circulates in the trailer sphere, and then as release dates came out. Just as a refresher, this is A44 Studios. They're the folks who made Ashen. I don't know if they made any other games. I couldn't find anything else on them. It's a small publisher named Kepler. They do a lot of really cool indie games. They have a really cool one coming out too. I think it's the one by the Dead Cells. Some members of the Dead Cells dev team.
Mhm.
I'll see if I can find that to confirm that Whirlwind one or whatever that's called. Hang on. Now I have to find it. Hang on a second.
I was trying to see if the studio made any
So
other
Kepler
games.
Interactive Windblown is a game that they have coming out from Motion Twin. It is the Dead Cells dev. So Windblown was that isometric game that we saw. You guys just go check out Windblown. It looks awesome. The colors, the graphical style, this isometric, and the really fast-paced combat. With the Dead Cells devs, I fully trust what they're doing. So it's just cool. It's the same publisher as this upcoming game. they published Flintlock: The Siege of Dawn. So, did either one of you play this yet? I played
Yeah, I
it
played it. Yeah.
for a few hours. Okay.
I played like an hour.
Okay,
played
so
like an hour.
we've all dabbled. We've all diddled it a
Hmm.
little bit.
We
Yeah.
did diddling, little diddling,
Mhm.
a group diddle, if you will. A group
Yeah.
diddle.
Yeah, a gang diddle. I don't like that. Never
I
mind.
don't like
Let's edit
that at
that
all.
out. Let's edit that out. Yeah.
Retract.
I don't know how far you guys got into it. I didn't get to any outside of a story boss that you're supposed to lose to.
Right.
I haven't gotten to any real full boss bar battles yet. After that,
Yeah.
I've done a bunch of mini bosses
Same.
or like I guess tougher world enemies with shields and stuff. I've done a bunch of that, but I haven't gotten super far. But what would you guys describe as like the setting? It's almost like a fantasy Civil War setting. Is that
I would say, remember when Fable 3 was like, hey, we have guns in our world now? It kind of feels like that, like the Industrial Revolution, but still kind of like 1 foot in like fantasy,
magic
medieval,
a little bit? Yeah,
magic-y,
monsters
yeah.
and gods are pretty commonly talked about.
Yeah,
and exist.
yeah. So I'd say kind of Industrial Revolution, Fable 3-esque,
Yeah.
Yeah, because it opens up in like the trenches and stuff, and then like it.
Yeah, which that's
like,
very like that's some World War I type of
World
vibes
War,
there.
yeah,
for sure.
almost World War One mixed with like this high fantasy setting. It's
Well,
really
and like your
interesting.
character is like a trench warfare
Yes.
fighter,
kind of
so
looked down on from some of the other people
Yeah.
at the
Right.
beginning.
And I actually like the setup quite a bit in this game.
Me too.
Yeah, there's like suddenly this doorway opened up in the mountains that just like dead people just started pouring out of.
Yeah.
And they're trying to close it, and apparently closing it causes some chaos, I guess.
Some bigger problems. I guess they released
Yeah.
the daddy monster that then released even more of them, and it's worse. But what do you guys think about so far? It is certainly a AA game, and I don't mean that as an insult, but it's just kind of like, all right, there were some hitches, some lack of polish around certain edges and corners of it, but for the most part,
I would say what is the sliding animation is
Not
definitely when you're like, yeah, it's AA.
Is that even a
soon-
slide? Like,
Yeah.
is it
It's
even
like
a
she
slide?
just kind of crouches down and it looks bad.
but it starts and stops at weird times. It's
yeah.
It's
I would
things
say
like that.
other
It's
than
things
that,
like
like the graphics are not awful, but like there's little, like you said, little hitches and little things like that that are like, all right.
I don't know if this is the case for you guys. I don't know if you're playing on Xbox or not. The game is dark as fuck. I literally had to turn up the gamma in the game all the way, and it's still too dark. So I don't know if it's.
I'm playing on PC, and it doesn't look too dark for me.
I'm playing on Game Pass, yeah, and I haven't had that issue, but
So maybe it's just something with like conflicting with my
Crank
TV.
up the brightness.
maybe,
buddy.
yeah, maybe.
Crank it up.
So yeah,
Well,
it's,
maybe Microsoft is selling like extra brightness, like in their higher
sure.
tiers.
Right.
Game Pass,
Game Pass
yeah.
gets you more brightness. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you pay less, you can't see as well.
Yeah,
That's just
if you're on
reality.
the core tier, Dan, you can't expect
Listen,
brightness in all your games.
I got the big boy tier,
You're
but
not you're not at the brightness tier. What?
I think Phil knows really where my allegiance lies, and he's
he
like
does.
screwing with me.
Turn
Yeah,
Dan's brightness down.
Yeah.
Turn Dan's brightness down.
the
Yeah, so the setting is really interesting. It's got right away, you don't really need to know a ton of lore to know, like, okay, there's clearly a siege going on. It's in the title also. The name of I assume it's the city, although it felt like sometimes they're talking about it like it's a country, but they keep talking about Dawn as the title of a place. I think it's the city that's under siege. And so like there you go. You got Flintlock pistols in this fantasy world, and the city of Dawn is under siege. There's your title. So that part we get that part. Your character's name is Nor. And like Kyle was saying, she's kind of like a trench rat. Like she doesn't necessarily carry a lot of weight or authority with what she's doing, but she's a good fighter. She's got an axe and her pistol. That's right, my axe. So yeah, and she's pretty good fighter. So like right away you start to slice through some enemies, and they teach you. I thought the combat tutorial stuff was pretty good. Like it reminded me a little bit of that first little cave in Elden Ring where they're like, here's one easy enemy, do this thing. All right, here's two easy enemies, try that.
It doesn't even let you block until the tutorial comes up for block.
Exactly.
It's like, don't even worry about that right now, which I like. I do, very breadcrumby baby steps,
Yeah.
It's teaching you the parry and the gun elements first, right before that. So, which it's going to probably take a little more learning because obviously timing for some people is a little different. Some people are more used to that than others. So,
I would say the window is more open than closed, though. For parries, I think it's a pretty big window.
Yeah, I think the combat feels pretty good to me. Like the R1, RB, depending on what controller you're using, basic attack. it's pretty satisfying. It does decent amount of damage to early enemies, at least, unless they're shielded or armored. So that part feels pretty good. And then, of course, you throw in your Flintlock pistol, which the bullets build up relatively quickly if you're swinging away.
Yeah, and I think they build up as you're on the offensive, so the game really wants you to get in there.
Wants you to go for it. Yeah.
Yes, for every 4 hits, you get another.
Get a bullet.
Hits, okay. Nice.
Okay. Yeah, and so what I really like, there's a couple of things. I've played a lot of FromSoft games, I feel like, in recent days, or from likes, even not even just FromSoft, but like Souls-like games. And so a lot of systems that require a combination of blocking, parrying, or watching for the red flashing attack, because that's one you can't block. Like I feel like every game has some version of that. This does too, but I really like the use your pistol to counter that element.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a new twist on it. It's like, hey, don't try to parry this. Shoot them. Like shoot them before
they get every time they have like a red dot, like they have like a red dot
moniker.
Either dodge or do that, right? It just basically says you can't parry that. So
if you're out of bullets, you got to dodge.
Yeah. So stop them in their tracks with a bullet or dodge. Yeah.
And it's great.
Or do your weird glide out of the way.
If you hit them, it staggers them really well. You can get a whole bunch of hits in. And I thought that was a pretty cool system that they made. But then, of course, they introduced you to one of the characters that's on the cover of the game, which is this cool little fox, almost Chinese dragon combo looking creature, the way he runs around, named Enki. And he's pretty freaking awesome. I like his voice acting too. I think he sounds really cool.
You know what this is? So immediately the second that little fox is introduced, and I technically didn't play the game, or I played the demo. Do you know what it reminds me of?
Forspoken.
Yep.
Oh, Dan, do you know what the difference is between the 2 lead characters, Dan? One is likable and one is.
I immediately liked one of them and I immediately hated the other. So those are the
it's almost, guys, it's almost as if writing makes all the difference when it comes to characters.
Right. And
or voice acting too, right? Because I kind of feel, I don't know, there was something about that cuff, like the voice acting of that guy with that character. It just didn't sound great. Like it just, I don't know. But
it sounded like 2 robots talking to each other, like her and Cuff or whatever. It's just they were just like, I don't know. There was nothing natural about it.
It's interesting the way that you just brought that comparison up, Dan, because that's the first thing I thought as we're leaving that first cave that you're in with Enki after the big opening sequence, and you're kind of you're striking out together. The first thing I thought as the 2 of them were talking, there's a little bit of banter back and forth, a little chit chat. I was like, oh, this is like if Forspoken was good with its 2 main characters.
Square Enix, with all their money, couldn't figure it out in some small indie studio from the people who did Ashen, which had no dialogue in it, if I remember correctly.
None.
Got it better.
I don't even think it had written text, if I remember.
Excuse me, am I wrong? Square Enix is known for stories, right? Am I?
Oh, no, absolutely
not. Dan, we have a lot of people in our group that just like totally defend that game like a bunch of lemmings.
I know.
Weird one,
Dan still collects his square checks, and even he can't admit.
I know he didn't even play the game. Yeah. And I played the demo and hated it, and still bought the game. And I was like, "What's wrong with you?"
Yeah, what am I doing?
After that, I changed the entire way that I purchase video games, and I've stuck with it since. So
that was one I was looking forward to, and then demo came out, and I tried it, and I was like, "Ooh, I don't know if I like this," and I heard all the feedback, and I was like, "Yep, not going to spend any money on it." And I honestly don't think about it until moments like this, where it's something very directly connected to it. But I do think the combat in this feels good. What I also like is that there is a difficulty setting, so it's easy to hear, oh, it's a Souls-like, and be like, do I want to play another super difficult game? I wouldn't classify this as super difficult, even on normal. I'm finding that it's not a hard game. Now maybe we'll get to bosses. That first boss was, the camera was wonky, and it actually, I had some performance hitches as it jumped around for a second, and I was like, I don't know if the bosses are gonna. So it remains to be seen.
Yeah,
if the boss.
My lock on was having a hard time with that boss. I was like, just lock on.
Yeah. So if other boss fights are like that, or if we have to revisit this boss, which I assume we will at some point, and if it's the same experience, that's going to be a pretty big hit against it. Because in a Souls-like, one of the core components is really good boss fights. That's the whole point. Make it challenging and make them really fun and good.
Yeah.
So that remains to be seen.
It looked pretty cool though. I mean, the style of the game and the whatever you want to call it, that boss that pops up, which obviously seems very important. It looked cool. I thought it looked cool. So,
I agree.
So I'm curious what the other bosses are going to look like.
Yeah, the style of it reminds me at times. The characters are like, oh, it's just a dash of like Dishonored, a little bit of Banisher, since I just played that this year, and that was another good, really solid AA quality game, which I loved because of the story and characters, and the voice acting and writing I thought was brilliant. But gameplay and technology wise, certainly similar to Flintlock, where it's like, oh, this is kind of in the Greedfall realm of
Sure.
They look a little funny when they run or whatever, but that didn't look a little funny. The Greedfall character looks stupid when it runs. I don't know if you guys remember that.
Yeah, 1,000%.
Yeah.
I couldn't continue the game because of that.
I ran once in that city and I was like, I'm done. I'm uninstalling this. I can't.
That's it. It's a shame though.
You're gonna see that more than anything.
The game is very fun. I just it's something eyesore.
It's actually really pretty too.
Yeah.
Really pretty.
Well, yeah, and the next gen upgrade too really made that game look sharp.
Which, by the way, that's a totally unfair thing to like pull the plug on a game on. Is the way.
No, it's not. Yeah, who cares? There's like 1,000 games out there. Yeah, you can.
True.
I quit games for way less. Like, be like, ugh, this game's got too much red in it.
Too much red.
I don't like the font of the logo of that game. I'm done.
Yeah.
So the other thing that makes it a Souls-like, of course, is when you die, you lose your main resource, which is called reputation. And then if you have one shot to get back and get it, they make it pretty obvious. It's a big purple circle that you just have to step into, and then you'll recollect all of it. And it is right where your character falls and dies is where you'll pick that up. But if you die a second time on the way there, or if you don't collect it successfully and die, then yeah, it's gone. So that part is the punishing.
You're also kind of like banking your reputation too. So like it feels like there's a multiplier that's going on while you're like in action, and then if you get hit, that multiplier goes away, and you can't bank all your points. So it's like there's kind of a risk reward type thing. You
do still get the points. So let's say you've got 100 points and you've built up a 5-time multiplier or whatever or something like that. Maybe it's 0.5. I forget what the numbers are. So that'll build up, and there's a little bank beside it. And as long as as long as you're still doing good moves and not getting hit, and you're doing good, perfect dodges or parries or whatever, mixing up your move set, that multiplier has potential to keep getting added on to. Like, oh, you did a slide attack, or oh, you did this, whatever the thing is that you're doing. And then once you get hit, those points that were building up and adding on, they go into your the
multiplier ends or whatever,
and the multiplier resets to 0. You don't lose any for that. It just kind of your multiplier disappears, which is kind of a cool system. It's like, hey, and at any point you can hit the left button to just bring them all in. Now I could be misunderstanding that. Maybe they do disappear. I think you can just hit left anytime you want, or they bank automatically. But I could be wrong on that.
Because you have to hit left on the D-pad, but
you don't. I don't think you ever really have to. I think you could just wait.
No, because I thought when I remember,
sure you had to, but I could be wrong.
Because I remember when
you think they go away if you don't hit it.
Yeah, I think so. That was my understanding of it, but maybe
that's something
wrong.
I got to figure out for sure. Okay, that's good. That's a good point that you're bringing up. Maybe you do lose them, but the whole idea of a multiplier, it's cool. It's like, hey, how good are you? Basically, like, can you continue to go without getting hit? And
it's also it's like an extra reward. Like you're playing these types of games, and if you're consistently doing well and not getting hit, then you're getting a little bit of an extra reward for that, and I think that's actually really cool. So,
by the way, I am getting hit.
Sure.
I'm not amazing at the timing yet.
Well, it doesn't feel exactly perfect like a Souls game. There is a floatiness to her. Like, even the way she jumps, she has like a floaty. There's a floatiness. The jump
is weird. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good point. The jump is a little strange. Yeah, you kind of glide almost Princess Peach style after you jump. You kind of like
yeah.
There's a little bit of a float to it. Which is fine. Like, I don't mind. Like, if your jump's gonna float, at least in a 3D platform, it's helping you. You're getting more distance. So that's fine. But yeah, it is a little bit floaty. And the combat also, for the most part, feels good. But yeah, it doesn't quite have that preciseness that you get used to when you play like a Bloodborne or something. It's like, well, okay, it doesn't feel quite like that. I get it. But overall, I do think it feels good. I think it feels solid. I'm very interested to keep playing. I at least want to see a boss or two and see, how they deliver. Because really, the first boss or two in these Souls-like games it either makes or breaks the experience. It's like, all right, did you give me something cool to face off against, or so
something unnecessarily difficult right out the gate,
Yeah, how's your difficulty spike? Is it reasonable? Do you make it fun? Do you make it make sense? Just from a combat perspective. But the other thing that's cool is you use your little fox god friend to build up this kind of curse status. I forget what that status is called, but it's like this curse looking thing, this purple bar that fills up.
Curse. Yeah.
And then they're like marked for death, is I think how he puts it. and then it stuns them once you fill that up all the way, and you can hit them to really bump it up. Like once he hits them a couple times, you just hit a regular attack on him and it fills up real fast. At least some of the enemies it does. And that stuns them and really does a ton of damage, which is really cool. So I feel like they're giving you a lot of tools at your disposal right at the gate.
There's basic attacks, there's critical stuff going on. There's the fox doing the curse stuff. There's the gun. You're using a gun. Like there's definitely a lot going on pretty early on. So
and there's clearly some upgrades. You got a buddy with a peg leg who's going to upgrade your stuff for you. So there's some good kind of, I would say it's right now it seems like more RPG light mechanics, but then when I saw the skill tree, it's like maybe a little more in depth than RPG light, but it looks relatively linear in your progression, but I could be wrong. But it doesn't look like the kind of thing where you are increasing one stat at a time like a Souls game, unless that's an element that I'm not seeing yet. It looks more like you're upgrading skills.
So. Right, yeah. And then the actual weapons are what's gaining like the stat boosts, right? So
yeah. So and I'm totally down with that. That's fine. I like it when games kind of take a different direction. It's a little bit of a mixture of things like Horizon with the way you upgrade in Horizon, but then it feels like a Souls game in some ways. So I like it. Props to the studio. They really upped their game. Ashen was a very kind of creative and artsy fartsy take on a Souls game where it looked like a painting with like faceless characters, and it was cool, but it was very indie. And I did beat that game. I liked it, but I didn't love it. I was just kind of got into the groove with it and wanted to finish it back when it came out. This really feels like, dang, this little studio made an almost AAA level game. Yeah. It's impressive. It's really impressive.
This is on Unreal 5, right? I believe.
I believe it is.
I think that's what's nice about like these engines, that they can give these tools to these devs, because it's like obviously you have this whole issue with the industry, especially this year with everything going on. But you have people that are so gung-ho on like, but the game's got to be like so beautiful, man. It's got to be like such a beautiful game. And it's like, this game is not ugly by any means. I mean, it's not God of War Ragnarok levels or anything like that, but it's by no means like, there's definitely some shots early on when you're in that trench area where like the light was hitting like kind of the ground a bit, like that. I feel like I bring this up all the time. The light hit the watery ground and it's all shiny. Like I love watery, shiny ground.
Listen, like, all Dan wants is good cliffs and reflecting water.
That's right.
That's all he wants.
Right. Yeah, just give me shiny surfaces and beautiful cliffs.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And if you give him a shiny surface cliff, he might die.
Dude, I'm exploding somewhere. Something's exploding. So, the
visuals do remind me, and I know I keep bringing it up, but it's because I played it so much and loved it. But it gives me very much Banisher's vibes in that it's like, this looks really good. And at times it's like, all right, that's a little rough, that little corner of the world, or that the grass doesn't look up to par, or maybe the lips aren't totally synced up with the dialogue. And you kind of let that stuff go especially when you have the context of really small team, much lower budget, but they did a great job. And the game itself at its core is pretty fun. So you can let those things slide. If the game itself is good, a lot of those things don't hit as hard.
I don't ever want AA games to die. I want AA
too.
games all the time. I wish we got more of them. I think if the industry does crumble and completely die out or whatever, I hope that like there's a world where like we at least still get AA games until things figure itself out.
It's a spectrum of games.
Yeah.
It's interesting when you say AA, like. Then I start to wonder about games like Hades. What is that? Where does that land? Is that a AA game?
It's an indie because it looks cheap or whatever. I don't know.
It's just
it's so
drawn.
Stupid. Yeah,
it's
like
drawn game.
It's like trying to talk to someone about like metal, like music or techno music or something. Like there's so many subgenres, and so it's not really. It's psytrance actually. It's not really.
Oh my god.
Well, actually, it's actually it's psy metal, or it's not really heavy metal. It's just ridiculous. So like. Instead of having a conversation, people get like bogged down by like,
people don't realize they're doing is they're pretty much, you're learning new rules. Hey, when I talk to you, I'm just going to say generic, boring things like, I like it.
Yeah.
You're just going to say nothing else. Like that's as much as you're going to get from me because you criticize everything I say.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people out there like that. But yeah, no, I someone's still shooting off fireworks every night. Someone's shooting off fireworks.
Dude, literally earlier today here. Yeah. In the neighborhoods. I was like, are you just kidding me? Like
shoot them all off on July 4th.
Shoot them in their own face. What they need to do
especially now that we know that so many people and dogs have problems with them. Like, don't be a fucking asshole.
Yeah, what are you doing?
just don't care. Because what's ironic and absurd is all these morons that are America, lighting off their fireworks. Guess what, guys? Do you know where fireworks originate from? China.
Yeah.
So
it's also
and
just
you gotta
dumb
say
kids.
it like
China. They're from China. So So
Yeah,
you're a bunch of idiots. They're not Americans. So,
it also surprised my windows open trying to get some airflow because it's a little stuffy in here, and it just kind of. I was like, did someone just shoot at me? Like, okay, no, we're good. We're good.
Well, that's also the terrifying thing that
we don't really have a violent neighborhood, even a little bit. So I don't know why my mind would have gone there, but anyway.
It happened. That's scary.
Anyways, so guys, Flintlock's pretty good. I'm actually to Kyle's point about, hey, I don't want these kind of games to go away. I'm considering, even though it's on Game Pass, I really am considering getting a copy and playing it on the Steam Deck. I'm about to travel soon. It'd be a fun one to kind of play on the go. Assuming it works well on there. I have not looked into that at all if it works well on there. But yeah, I really dig what they made here. So I like it.
Nice.
And I do recommend, by the way, because my Steam thing was still open on Windblown. Go check out Windblown. It looks great. Same publisher that did Flintlock, same development team that did Dead Cells. Arguably some of the best platforming combat, like side-scrolling combat.
This is what I was looking at the other day, because I was streaming the other day and I was like, oh, the guys that are Dead Cells, they're making a new game, and then this popped up and I was like, wait a minute, this is not what I saw. Wasn't there another game from the Dead Cell guys coming out?
I think there's another game that's using the guy who did the Dead Cell art.
Oh,
that's what it is.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's not the
it's like the designer or something.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, gotcha. That's the one that I was thinking.
It says it's playable on Steam Deck, and then it just has the notice about some in-game text is small and difficult to read.
That's usually the thing that I find when something says it's playable. It's usually because there's a mouse and keyboard component that is like that you have to do at some points, or it just means there's no way to make the text readable.
Yeah.
So not the worst thing in the world. But,
yeah, because the game, of course, I'm playing it on PC and it's fully controller compatible. There wasn't any time I had to use a mouse or keyboard for anything.
Usually those games work perfect on Steam Deck then.
Yeah, same.
Usually I've had no problems.
So yeah, I think I might grab this for some travel play.
Nice.
All right, another Game Pass game that is out. We already talked about it a bit, but it never hurts to revisit because it's a very unique game called Kunitsu-Gami Path of the Goddess, which I believe is officially released this week. I'm curious if that one hits Steam. I know it's on Game Pass. There it is. Yep. It's $50. You can get it. It's a Capcom game.
50.
The user reviews on Steam are 88% positive, which is great. The demo is still available if you want to go try it out. This is a really interesting kind of tower defense strategy meets
third-person action.
Action game. So it's really intriguing, and it definitely has some very deep lore from like things that I don't understand at all, but it's very intriguing. Like, there's this goddess who's trying to like purify the land in some way. I really don't know what's actually happening.
But purify the land by murdering everybody is how it is.
She's dancing around.
Fire purifies, Dan. Okay.
She's dancing around and getting rid of all this nasty gunk and stuff, and you are her protector. And you're creating a path for the goddess through the land.
You're trying to, like, every level is like you're getting her to a gate or something like that, right?
That's right. Right. Yep. And so you're going to be invaded, and before you're invaded, you have a chance to go kind of purify areas of whatever area you're in. It's a pretty small area. I'm sure they open up later in the game. But you go purify these areas, you release these villagers, you recruit them, and then depending on how many resources you have gathered in that area, you can then assign them a role. And of course, the more you've unlocked, the more resources you have, the stronger you can make them. You can make them from a really simple axe-wielding kind of fighter who's not super strong but can help, all the way up, or they could be like a magic wielder who slows down the enemies, very tower defense style, where it kind of slows them down within a certain range. And there's all kinds of other fighters and ranged combatants that you like before that you get attacked, you set them up where you want them to be positioned, like up on this ridge or down right by the gate or whatever, wherever it is. And then at any point you can move them around throughout the fight. So yeah, there's the strategy kind of almost tower defense element. And then as you're fighting, you're collecting another form of resources that allows you to clear the path for the goddess, and she'll start cleansing things while you're fighting. And of course, you want to protect her. You can't let her get killed while you're battling. So it's interesting. Like, it's not something I expected. It's not like I don't think it really fits within a genre, which is cool. I like when games like this are around, but
Yeah, I keep forgetting to play the demo, but I remember the first time you mentioned.
And it's on Game Pass too, the full game.
It is on Game Pass. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You know, it kind of, and I haven't played it yet, but just from description and things alone, or remember that Jack Black game about like metal music?
Oh, Brutal Legend.
Yeah, it reminds me of that because it's kind of a third-person kind of action game. It's kind of a tower defense.
Little strategy in there.
Yeah. I'm not saying they're parallels, but there's definitely some.
Admittedly, the strategy parts of that game were not my favorite, but
yeah, I think
it was a really cool concept, though.
But
it was a cool concept.
Yeah, it was an ode to metal music, so that part was fun.
I really did a poor job of describing what it is. So it is, just in terms of the lore, it's Japanese inspired, of course, made by Capcom. But it takes place on a mountain covered by defilement during the day. Purify the villages and prepare yourself for sundown. So there's like a little timer on the bottom where you can see it getting darker. And then during the night, protect the maiden against the hordes of the Seethe. And then repeat the day-night cycle until you cleanse the mountain of defilement and return peace to the land. So the idea is that she's doing the cleansing, you're doing the protecting and fighting, and then you're recruiting villagers along the way. And then after you clear that area, you set up like headquarters, and you can walk around, talk to people, upgrade things, talk to her. You can buy new items. So it's got a little bit of that in between battles. Let's upgrade some things element to it as well. So
fun.
Yeah, it's a cool game.
I really wanted to play this one. I forgot when this one came out. So when I had it on my Xbox, I was like, this came out weeks ago. I'm not going to play this for the podcast, but
yeah,
I guess I forgot its release date because the demo came out so long ago.
The visual fidelity of it looks honestly like a last gen game. And I'm not trying to say that to be mean. Like the visual fidelity and like technology of it does not look current gen, let alone next gen. But the design is amazing. Like the creature design and the color usage, like the art style.
It looked like a good art style game. Yeah,
art style's cool.
It reminds me of like Japanese paintings.
Yes,
like,
very
painterly,
painterly, like very painterly. Yeah,
tradition, like old, like
watercolor.
Watercolor. Yeah, like that.
Yeah, it won't. It's not like a showcase type of a game where it's like, here, let me show you how cool my new TV looks. But art design wise, dude, it's bizarre, it's creepy, it's intriguing. I like it. So like the gate, when you open one of the gates, like it's got a skull on the top and it kind of screams as its rib cage opens, and that's the gate opening. Like it's just weird, and
that's cute.
And yeah, it's very adorable.
It's cute.
So yeah. All right, so that's that game. I can never say it right. I always have to read it slowly. Kunitsu-Gami, Path of the Goddess. Sometimes I just say Path of the Goddess.
There you go. That's good.
Pog. Guys, this is Pog. Kunitsu-Gami
Pog. Pog. That's so.
Hey, do you guys remember playing Pogs back in the day?
Yeah. Yeah. Heck yeah.
Just throwing those
holographic slammers.
Yeah, the
slammers. That's right.
Yeah.
Dude, the chaos that would ensue in the playground, taking somebody's Pogs.
Oh yeah.
Or losing your Pogs.
I had my little cylinder case with my name on.
I got the tube. Yeah.
The tube.
Man, good times.
So
good
ridiculous.
90s were so dumb. I loved it.
I know, because like actually playing the game, not all that great.
No, that was like the beginning of being like, because like that was like Pokemon cards too.
Yes,
like more people collected Pokemon cards and actually played the game. You know?
Absolutely.
It's one of those things.
That's absolutely true. Speaking of which, a little side note: my son was on. He was looking for to use some money he made this summer on Pokemon cards. So of course, someone on Facebook Marketplace in our area was. You could tell it's this guy that when we went to pick him up, I could tell there were some boxes there, and his girl was sitting on the floor with the cat. I was like, "Your girl just moved in, and you're getting rid of Pokemon cards." Got it. Like I could see it happen.
Oh, that poor bastard.
And he had so many. I mean, he only charged us like $100, and it was probably like 15 like large cases full, each of them full, and then a bunch of them had a bunch of these like really nice cards, and I forget all the names of all the nice ones, but
sold those like for a decent amount, like individually, depending on what they were. But
I think there was some speed required, but I don't know for sure. I don't know for sure. But anyway, my son was super pumped to get that, and of course at that age too, like you want expensive ones that are worth a lot, but it's also cool just to have a ton of them. Like he just loves having so many. So that's a good time.
Does he have a holographic Charizard?
I doubt it. Isn't that pretty? Isn't that pretty rare?
I got show and tell. That's like, y'all keep going. Hold on.
Kyle, do you have
Kyle's gonna show and tell.
No way. Do you have a first gen holographic Charizard? Dude,
Dan, do you guys ever do the Facebook Marketplace like in town pickup stuff, or do you stay away from that?
I've only ever done it once, which was for Rock Band stuff.
Okay.
yeah, other than that, I'm just I'm just so paranoid.
I don't worry about the Facebook stuff as much because usually a couple clicks you can see this is probably a real person, and yes, they live in the Springs. In my case, in our town, the Springs, or in your case, in the town where you live. But there are like Craigslist. I pretty much never use anymore.
I would have no idea where it's at. Never mind.
Oh.
I have the entire first generation set of the Dragon Ball Z collectible card game.
Oh, okay.
Every holographic, every card. It's probably
the holographic though is pretty nice.
It's probably worth a couple thousand, I imagine.
Oh wow! Oh shit!
You might want to find that. You should find it.
It's somewhere. I'm too
Kyle.
foggy brained right now to be solving problems. So
that's totally fine. That's because of your drink mixture happening tonight. I get it.
Yeah.
Cocktail.
Don't mix Dayquil and Nyquil together at the same time. Your brain doesn't know what to do.
Then it's what is that even? What would you even call that? Dayquil and Nyquil? It would just be.
It's just called Quill.
Just Quill.
Just Quill.
Just Quill.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All Quill.
Yeah, all Quill. Yeah.
Always Quill. All right. Well, another major release that I know has been waited for by myself and many other college football fans for a long time is College Football 25. It is something Kyle said in the chat. So true. It's a shock that they haven't figured it out before now. It's been 11 years since this game had a new entry. 11 years. And I don't know. I actually don't have, and I probably should look them up. I don't have the sales numbers. Like I don't know how well it sold. I just know it was one of the most outside of Madden and FIFA. It was the sports game. Like it was like Madden and FIFA always dominated, but the NCAA game always crushed it. As far as I knew, I always felt like everyone I know had a copy of it on some console and played it.
Yeah.
So I always thought it was super popular. But anyway, it's finally back. Of course, they had a lot to work out with the universities and the student athletes who now have name, image, and likeness. Is rights the right word or responsibility? Whatever it is, like they own their own image now. The college can't just say yes, put all of our players in the game.
I think that is exactly why.
But it just took so long. It's like so weird.
I mean, but it's like, I don't know. Maybe that's the cynical part of my brain, like turning on and being like, yeah, they didn't want to pay these kids, whatever.
They didn't want to pay them, right? Yeah, it's one of those things where they ended up doing what I think a lot of us thought they should do in the first place. Hey, pay every single athlete a small amount. I'm talking a few $100 and give them a free copy of the game. Like 98% of the players will be like, put me in the game. That's all I need. Right. A few $100 to spend money and you're gonna give me free copy of this game. I'm in.
Yeah, you have that game that you're literally in the game.
And you're in it. They probably would have bought it anyway because they're in it. They're just excited to be in it. But then you've got your top 1 or 2% of players who are making millions in advertising now with their NIL deals. You might have to work out different deals with them. I get that. They are already heading to the NFL. So I understand the branding piece of it. But I'm so glad this game is back. It launched, I think, yesterday officially, but thanks to my old buddy Derek, who bought it on the PS5, and he bought the super expensive version, so I had access to it on Monday.
Nice.
So yeah, I've been playing it a lot since Monday, and the good news is if you played any of the old ones, this one just picks right up where it left off. You pick your favorite team, so then everything in the menus is now themed to that team. I will say that all the menu music being just drumline stuff is starting to drive me crazy. I'm like,
is it?
At least play the fight songs or something. Like,
right.
I'm okay hearing like the college bands play the various fight songs, but it's just it's just the drums. It's just, which is cool for a second, maybe even for a few minutes. But when you're sitting there going through the menus and like organizing your team, it's like, dude, I gotta. So I have now in the habit of when I'm on the menus, I take the headphones out. and I'll listen to something else while I'm doing the menus and then when I play the actual in game, I put the headphones back in. But anyway, the game looks amazing. It really captures that college football pageantry. The thing I think that people like about college football compared to NFL is there's so many different schools that have their own traditions. You know, they either like smack the quote in the locker room on the way out, or there's like a statue on the way out. They all like tap on the head, or they all come running down from a certain, like in Clemson, they run down the hill. At Virginia Tech, they play Enter Sandman, and the whole crowd goes crazy. At Iowa, they all turn and wave to the kids in the children's hospital that overlooks the football field.
Oh, that's cute.
At Penn State, they have the lion open the gate as the whole crowd's in the whiteout going crazy with the pom-poms. Like they capture all of it. the Michigan Big House, they captured that huge yellow bowl. It's insane looking. And so I
It's
just
all like
think
a cutscene, and it just shows
it's
like
a
that
great
stuff.
cutscene, and you've got the real commentators who have recorded brand new and really well done. Like, I'm surprised how well done their commentary is. It feels like a real game. Like, it feels like you're firing up a real college football game. And I like that they did that. Madden's a little different. It still has some of that where you get the feel for each stadium, but so many NFL teams are just parity across like their resources for the most part, not in every case, but they for the most part they all have the same numbers of billions of dollars, and their stadiums are all top of the line. And so with college it's a little different. Like for example, they have tons of career type modes as a player or as a coach. So I am a coach, and I really like, in every game I like progression. There's really no game that I've ever wanted to like start me out at maxed out level with every weapon and ability and let me start from the top. I don't usually want to do that. Some people do, and that's fine.
I like
That's
the
just me.
climb.
I like the climb. That's what makes the game fun. And so even in football, when I started my little coach career, I played a couple exhibition matches just to see some stadiums and play around with it a bit. But then I started my career as myself as a coach, and I am the offensive coordinator at Air Force here in the town where I live.
Well, there you go. See, that's pretty rad. That's pretty
it's cool. But I'm a low level coach at a very low level football school. At least, they're decent. Like they're a feisty team, but they're never great. No one cares about them. They never recruit 5-star, let alone 4-star players, except every once in a while. So it's one of those things where at the end of this year, my team has done really well, and now I'm at the point in my playthrough where it's called the coaching carousel. So now other schools are offering me positions as their offensive coordinators. And so I can eventually move up. And you build your skill set. You become a better recruiter. They really give you a ton of things as you every game. You level up a little bit more. You get more experience. Or if you hit certain milestones, you get more experience. And you have this whole web of abilities to improve. It's so RPG like. This is what I meant in our chat. Like it's like an RPG because you're like, hey, I want to be a recruiter. So then you upgrade that little by little. All right, you get extra time or extra impact when you recruit this position or whatever. Like you get all these different skills, or maybe you're a motivator. Maybe your skill set is all about in the game when your team is down, your coach has whatever percentage chance of boosting all of their stats in the fourth quarter or something. Like you have all these different skills depending on what kind of coach you want to be. Really, really cool. And if you're a fan of college football, there's no reason not to have this game. Like if you are a fan of it, and even if you're not, if you like sports generally and the idea of management and an almost RPG like progression system, you honestly don't have to play the game. You could just simulate all the games and just do the recruiting system is its own little
the games. Interesting.
You can simulate the games. Yeah, you can simulate a whole season if you wanted to for whatever reason. But you can set up your recruiting board. It feels very much again kind of like almost like a Mass Effect style RPG, just in that you have to pick the right dialogue in a way. You have to kind of figure out what does this player care about, and how do I leverage that to get them to come to my school? And then
the Paragon Renegade system kicks in, and you can either be a good coach or bad.
You start to look more evul as a recruiter.
It's like Fable. Your coach starts growing horns if you're too mean. Yeah.
He starts to get red skin. That would be amazing. I would love that. So it's got Road to Glory. You can create a player, and then you get recruited out of high school, and you pick which school to go to, and you have to.
There's like two different campaigns, kind of. Then
basically, a Road to Glory as a player, or a Dynasty as a coach, and then they have their Ultimate Team, where you have it's essentially a card game where you build a team based on cards with packs that you open, and then you build that team. You can play online against other people's Ultimate Teams based on cards they've opened, and and the Dynasty mode is fully multiplayer. Like, if we had a group of however many people who wanted to be in a dynasty, we could all join the same league. You play once a week or whatever time, once a day, however you want to do your league. And everyone plays their games, does their recruiting, and you could just do multiple seasons together, multiplayer if you wanted to. Sometimes you'll play each other, and you just have to schedule your game to play against each other. And dude,
I think that's so cool. I think that's so cool that you can create like a league together and like meet once a week. It's like D&D but for football.
Yeah.
It basically is. And the other thing they do is they give you full control. One of the things about college football right now that has a lot of fans, and I'm somewhat in this boat, has a lot of fans worried. It's becoming so much of a big business. Players no longer just have NIL. Now they're going to start getting actual compensation. Like things are changing rapidly in real world college football. And so a lot of fans are kind of like already yearning for the days of yesteryear when players were super poor and could barely make it. I don't know.
Right. We want our players poor and hungry.
I think they have of course they have is it what's the phrase, rose tinted glasses or whatever,
Sure. Yeah,
where they're looking back on it and seeing, hey, there was a lot less transferring happening then. That's true because you weren't really allowed to outside of some extreme circumstances. Otherwise there would have been. But people feel like loyalty is important. If you pick Ohio State and then you leave Ohio State, then you're dead to us. Like, I don't know. People kind of miss that kind of loyalty to the brand and to the school.
Everything's always got to be one.
What about the love of the game, guys? Come on.
Yeah.
That's right.
Throwing around the pigskin. You know what I'm saying?
I follow college and NFL football quite closely, and I still feel like loyalty is there just as much as it was before. It's just now players are benefiting and able to leverage the newfound power they have with NIL and with payment and with the way schools can no longer just use them to make millions of dollars and then.
Right.
Like, that money is happening regardless. It should filter in the right directions, I think.
Yeah, so I don't mind that. But there's another piece of college football that's changing a lot, and that's the conferences, where you've got basically there's two mega conferences right now, the SEC and the Big Ten, and they both keep pulling teams in from other conferences, like Texas and Oklahoma are now in the SEC, which is weird. What's even weirder is that USC, UCLA, Washington, and Oregon, all West Coast teams, are now in the Big Ten, which used to be just a Midwest. And now they've added everything from Penn State and Maryland, Nebraska, and now like the Big Ten doesn't mean anything anymore. There's 20 teams in the Big Ten, so it doesn't make any sense.
So the Big 20 then.
Yeah, the Big 20.
So I understand that criticism. It is like a little weird how kind of large certain conferences are getting. It's getting a little odd. And so but one of the things they do in this game, to bring it back to this game, is you can get in there and you create whatever college football world you want. You can change the conferences, you can put teams in different places. Like you can recraft college football to be the one that you love and remember if you want to. And you can even create your own conference. You can call it the current gen conference and put 2 teams in it, or like whatever you want to do.
Cool.
So they really let you
highly customizable.
Very customizable. Yeah. You manage the kind of adventure or experience that you want to have in this thing.
I can see why people like this. I mean, obviously, I don't hear much about Madden, anyways, because I know Madden over the years has added RPG elements, right? But clearly, there's a certain something with college football that they lean into super hard, and it just has kind of more of like just seems more fun.
Yep,
there's just more fun to be had
for a big coming back party, or a re-reveal for it sounds like they came out swinging.
They did a good job. They revamped some of the gameplay features. But then you go in the menus and you can switch it all back to classic. Passing is one of the biggest ones. Some people don't like the new passing because it takes a different kind of cadence or muscle memory. I actually kind of like it. I'm getting used to it. But if you don't like it, you've got like 3 other options with lots of different sliders to change how the passing works. And you can go back to what's called classic passing, and it feels just like the 2014 game or 2013 game, whatever it was.
They knew what they were doing. They knew what they were doing.
I feel like they already sat around for weeks and weeks and weeks, probably months, saying, okay, what's going to piss people off if we don't include it? Let's make a list.
Make a list.
And I think they've done almost all of it.
Yeah, and what I also brought this up in the chat, but 2.2 million people were willing to pay extra money just to get this game 3 days early.
Yeah. Is that how many?
From that article I sent earlier, 2.2 million people are willing to pay $100 to play college football 25 3 days early.
Right out the gate, already 2.2 million sales.
That's how hungry people were for this.
So this is actually the release window they used to always have. July was the NCAA game, and then Madden was in August. That's how the cadence of how these games always hit. And it was brilliant because college football really gets going around the 3rd week of August, with the biggest games happening usually Labor Day or maybe the week before Labor Day. And then NFL starts either on Labor Day weekend or the following week. And so the games release about a month before that, and everyone is just... all the fans, all the fans of these, they're just hyped and cannot wait. Like, dude, when will my team hit the field? And then the game comes out, and it's like, I'm going to play this game for 200 hours,
Right.
So it's brilliant timing. People are, of course, were hungry for it, but, now more than ever, as all the changes are happening in college football, I think there's a lot of hunger for this game. So I think they've delivered in spades. I don't know what the reviews are looking like. I looked them up yesterday. I didn't see any yet. I'm sure there are some out by now, but whatever. I love it. I'm sure there's plenty of criticisms out there about it, but I am having an absolute blast with it. I actually don't see any on OpenCritic. What does Metacritic have? Let's see if they have anything.
Oh, they must have embargoed it, which means it's a bad game.
They've only got, that's what it means. It's got It's only got 10 reviews. It's averaging 88, but take that with a grain of salt because it's only 10 reviews.
Yeah.
I have a feeling that low 80s is where it will land because there's going to be enough criticisms of too much like the old one or whatever they're going to come up with something. Sports games, they're always hit or miss, but yeah, I absolutely love it. I think it's phenomenal, and there is something different about Madden. When you're running a franchise in Madden, it's fun, but it's all money based. It's just like running a budget, and that's where that mode starts to feel less like a RPG fantasy fun and more like work because you're literally managing your team's salary cap budget, and it's like I don't know if I want to keep doing this.
I don't want to be an accountant.
With college football, it's you're allocating. You have like a bucket of time every week that you and your staff can spend on recruiting. So you have to carefully plan which players are you going to spend time with, trying to convince them to come to your team and build up their little bar. And even if you do it all the right way, some other team could swoop in with the offer they've been waiting for and steal them right up from underneath. And it's just heartbreaking, but also like that's kind of how college football goes with recruiting. So that part's fun. It's unexpected. Someone could just randomly commit to your team the moment you offer them. Like a lot of that stuff's super fun. I love the randomness of that because it feels very real. Mm-hmm. A college student recently, for real, in real life, actually did a spinning wheel you would do like on Price is Right.
Sure.
To determine what school he would go to. He had like 5 schools or something to choose from, and it landed on Baylor, and he picked them. And I don't know if it was all set up and that's where he wanted to go. Probably, but it was ridiculous. Like he literally
sister played basketball for Baylor, so that's funny.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Dang, I didn't know that. But anyway, so there you go. College football 25, super cool. Having a lot of fun with it. Stayed up way too late, at least twice this week playing that game. It was one of those things where I was like, "Why am I so tired?" Oh, it's 1:30. Okay, that's fine.
Whoops.
Anyway, so that game's a lot of fun. A few other releases this week that are worth highlighting. There's that little puzzle game we've talked about a couple times called Shim. You're a little kind of shadow frog who hops from shadow to shadow. Not as good as I thought I was hoping it would be, just because the art style is so cool, but it's just not fun to play. It's weird and it's just not compelling. Literally making it from point A to point B by hopping usually these really thin shadows from like a fence pole or like a bike or something. And it's just like, okay, that's all you're doing. You're not doing anything else. You're just getting to the next point, and then you got to jump in the shadow of a car as it drives by, and then hop out by this door, and then you're done. Like I don't know, I didn't find it to be all that compelling. People might like it though. Give it a look. The art style is cool. There's a side-scrolling game called Gestalt, Steam, and Cinder that looks really cool. Have you guys seen this one?
So there's a streamer that I hang out with quite a bit in the morning. He played the whole thing. That game, it's really rad. Great pixel work. Yes. Actually, a ton of story. Like he was actually like, so one of his gripes was like, man, there's actually too much dialogue in this game.
Oh, really?
But like also because like he's streaming it, so he just kind of like wanted to be playing it and not so much like reading all of the dialogue. But yeah, there's actually like a decent amount of story and lore going on in there. It's more Metroidvania as opposed to like a roguelike or whatever. So
yeah.
And just cool upgrades and things like that. Yeah, it looks sick.
It looks so cool. Yeah, this is one that I'm very interested in.
It's only on Steam at the moment, which is a bummer because when you Google it,
it's got to be a Switch game.
It's going to be coming out on everything, I believe, but it's just not at the moment. So it's just only on Steam. But
it looks like a Switch game when I see it, and I mean that as a compliment. Like it looks like a really cool side-scrolling Switch game. Norland is also out. Norland, I believe that's a Viking city builder or strategy game of some kind. I'm blanking out on it now. I gotta look and see. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. Norland, where are you? Do I just have to search for it? Don't make me search. Okay.
So this has more of a cartoony look. I was thinking it would be a little more realistic looking.
Yeah, it's a medieval colony sim.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of looks like RimWorld. Do you guys ever see RimWorld?
Yeah, familiar with that one.
It's got that kind of vibe. It looks cool, but I don't know, those kind of like Prison Architect, like the little kind of funny characters that sort of float and move around.
Yeah.
So yeah, might not be for everybody. Vampire Therapist.
Okay. All right.
Guys, this game looks awesome. It's of course a like adventure dialogue based game. You are truly guiding vampires through centuries of emotional baggage, decades of delusions, and the odd bout of self-loathing with real cognitive behavioral therapy concepts, and become a vampire therapist. Even vampires need a shoulder to cry on when a neck to bite.
How does that make you feel?
So the reviews on it are 97% positive.
That's insane. Wow.
People are loving it. They're saying, someone actually commented, I wish I played this game during my intro to psych and neuroscience class. Would have been more help in crystallizing some of these concepts. People are saying it's actually really good at teaching you about emotional intelligence and responding to people and hearing what they're really saying. Like, it's very weird. I'm sure it's funny too, but I think it's got some actual like therapy that you're doing. I don't know. Very interesting.
So if you can't afford therapy, go play this game.
Go play this game.
Yeah. There's also definitely handsome-looking vampire dudes in there, so I'm sure there's a little bit of a horny
vampire himbos, if you will.
That's cool. Himbos, yes.
That's
definitely a horny element there for sure.
Yeah, that is happening without a doubt. So, Metal Slug Awakening. Let's see how the reviews are on this one. Metal Slug Awakening is out. I believe that's
the tower defense one.
I believe this is actually a brand new entry. It just looks a little
tower
different.
defense one, I think.
Is this the one that when I it's like mobile? Yeah, it's like mobile-esque, right?
That's why it looks weird. It's a mobile game. That's
okay.
So
it looks really strange. I don't know. It could be fun. Oh, it's got mixed reviews, 58%.
Yeah, no. There's literally like character models that look like it would just be like from Fortnite.
Just wait for Metal Slug Tactics, everybody. That's gonna be money. That's gonna be so money.
Great. That one looks really good. Okay, so that is out. Cataclysmo, which is from the team that made. I was looking at this just the other day, and I'm blanking on it. Cataclysmo. So it's a fortress building and defending one where you got to prep for these invaders that come at nighttime. The art style almost looks like Humanity a little bit, but think of it in like a fantasy setting with creatures and stuff. This was by Digital Sun, who made the Mage Seeker and Moonlighter games. You guys remember Moonlighter, where you make
Moonlighter's cool. Yeah,
Moonlighter's super cool. And the Mage Seeker is that League of Legends spin-off game that Jeff and I talked about, where it's a really fun isometric action RPG. So it's a good dev team. Like, they know what they're doing. They make good games. This was definitely a different approach for them. So I'm very interested in this one. It actually comes out this weekend, so I was a little early on. I don't know if they bumped it back a week or what, but it comes out on Sunday or Monday. So yeah, it's coming out soon. It'll be out by the time this podcast is out. So, all right. And then last but not least, major update, 5.0 update for No Man's Sky. I didn't realize it was 5.0. That's a pretty big deal.
It is.
But this one is called Worlds Part 1. Now, in past episodes, we've gone through the names of all the different updates they've done. It's crazy. They've updated this game to just a ridiculous amount almost. It's really impressive. And I'm very hopeful that, like you mentioned, Dan, that their next one, the Light of Fire game, whatever that one's called, hopeful that one has a better start to it and kind of keeps that momentum going. But this 5.0 update called Worlds Part 1. Did either one of you get a chance to play it since the update?
Sadly not.
Okay. So I jumped in and played a little bit solo. And I just started.
Tim left us on the ground, Kyle. He just flew off into space without us.
My ship is probably still derelict on some planet that has poisonous gas on it. So.
Well, I kind of liked starting fresh because the tutorials have gotten better every time. They really walk you through what to do to get off the planet and get to your next thing. And teach you how to build and, all right, create your first portal. Okay, now go create your first thing. Like, they do a good job of just walking you through it. Where at the beginning, and I did enjoy the base game when it first came out, but it's certainly
convoluted as hell, but very interesting and unique.
Yeah, I mean, it deserved a lot of the criticism that it got. Just in terms of all right, this is not delivering on what they said completely, but it is interesting. Nothing else was like it out there, that's for sure.
Yeah, and it was impressive. Wow, I'm really flying to all these planets.
I really just flew straight up into space.
To me, it set an unrealistic expectation from there on out for any space game.
For all of them,
for all of them, like planet to space and vice versa. It's like, oh, why can't they all be like this?
Yeah, like the idea of even just today, the planet that I started on, I got all my stuff from my ship, got it fixed up, took off, and immediately as I got out of the atmosphere, there's a big asteroid field in front of me. So I shot a few because they have resources in them, and I turned and realized the planet I was on had these massive, really beautiful white and gold rings around it that I just didn't even see till I kind of got out of the planet and turned and looked. And I was like, holy cow. And then, of course, there's a little moon right beside it. So I just flew to that right away and started exploring that. And I immediately was like, oh, this game's a problem. This game could really, because you just want to see the next planet. I want to scan the next thing. I immediately found, I was just looting stuff that I found and opened up a random chest, and it gave me that item that you can install. It was an S tier one that happens to give you like, I forget how many more. It's like 5 times the normal payment for scanning things. So now I'm just making tons of money just by scanning, you know.
That's
so
cool. Someone gave me really good advice where they said like choose what you want to do in this game because you can't do everything.
Can't do everything.
Oh, yeah.
So like, you know, do you want to be like a guy who's like shooting pirates up in space? Well, like
Just
lean
do
into
that.
that. Do you want to scan stuff like you're doing? Like lean into that. Do you want to go out of your way to find a freighter? Like lean into that, you know, like but trying to like pretending like you're gonna like do everything is a fool's errand.
Do you want to be a fleet admiral and have a whole bunch of ships? All right, go after that and focus in on like because you can actually have multiple ships in your whole fleet.
You can get a freighter and you can hold like like you can have multiple.
And you can build your ship. You can build your like where you live inside your ship. You can like reshape it and move the walls around and like. And I haven't done much of that. And part of me is like, ooh, I want to do that, but I also want to build one on the floor, and I also want to go do these missions, and I also like. So yeah, you're right. It can be overwhelming when you try to do too much.
Yeah, so choose your objectives. You know.
I will say this: I'm playing it on PC, and then my son actually joined me. We started another new game just that can be mine and his experience together. He was playing on the PS5, just on my Nestor Funk account out there. I was playing on Steam, and it's pretty straightforward. You just exchange No Man's Sky friend codes, and you just
is it cross-platform?
And it goes cross-platform. You load right in and start playing together. It's awesome. So,
nice.
So yeah, we started playing together. We did some exploring on this cool snow planet we started on. But I will say, and even he said, he goes, "This just looks so much better on the PS5." And I was like, "Yes," but also the game just got updated, and they improved a ton of stuff. The game is now an 18 gig install, which it still isn't very big, but before it was like before I think it started at like 4 or 5 or something.
Yeah, it was really small.
Insane.
For an infinite universe or whatever.
It was a weirdly small file, right, for how big the game is. But anyway, I am noticing a ton of differences. The creatures still move kind of wonky sometimes, but not horrible. Like it's better. It's certainly better. But their design looks more purposeful. Like I've seen a much wider variety of creatures that look really interesting, and they don't always look like what's that kid from Toy Story who pieces Sid, the next door neighbor who's like gluing toy pieces together.
It's a good comparison.
A lot of the creatures in this game have looked like that because it's just a little weird. But this looks a little more purposeful. Like in the snow planet, we saw what look like sea turtles, but they're snow turtles, and they're swimming around in the snow, and they dive underneath the snow and disappear. Little things like that.
That's pretty rad. I like that.
I was like, this was just procedurally generated. So, and he even said, Sean Murray even said in his update, like, it's still, the computer is still generating everything, but we're basically giving it a lot more thought and care, the things that it create. So, which I think is great. I've only seen water once, and it was a small body of water. It did look cool. Like, that was a big thing they advertised, is the waves are different and the reflections, and it was a snow planet, and it was actually a blizzard, so I didn't really see reflections from light too much.
Sure.
But it does look better. But one of the coolest additions, I think, is there's like, I was on a poison planet, and there was actually steam like this green hazy steam that would just out of nowhere just kind of rise up. It wasn't hurting me. It wasn't like something I had to run away from. It was just kind of atmospheric addition. And on the snow planet, I noticed it too, with like dusts of snow as the wind was changing directions and stuff. There's these little touches that make it feel less static, because the old planets did feel very still outside of, the creatures walking around. And now like trees are moving, and there's like this kind of dusty or steam or cloudiness that's kind of kicking up sometimes. It's just it's a really nice touch that they added. And it does just look crisper. It just looks cleaner. It looks really cool. So
yeah, I don't even remember, like, I mean, I played so much of it, but yeah, it was like when it came out. I literally have not hopped back into that game like since I initially played it, but I put in probably like 50-60 hours into that game. Like, so
yep. Yeah, I put in a lot of time. I don't know how much total, because it's been across a few different platforms. I only just bought it on Steam this year. I think it was like in March that I bought it when it was on sale or something like that. And so yeah, now I'm only up to just almost 5 total hours on my Steam playthrough, just with my one little solo game, and then playing with my son today. But But it is super fun. Like there was multiple times. So we're within earshot of each other while he's playing in the living room where my office is.
Mhm.
And it was just cool. Every once in a while, I'd be like, "Oh, Dad, come look at this thing!" And so I would just like my character would look for him and run over to find where he is because he found some new creature or a cave or something. It just reminded me of how fun it is to co-op exploration games like this.
Yeah.
You know? So like to Kyle's point, when you're playing multiplayer, I wouldn't say the best thing to do is to go after like the quote unquote story missions and try to complete quests. It's much better to just pick some planets and go fight and explore and scan and build. Like that's probably the more fun approach with multiplayer.
Yeah.
But anyway, super cool, man. I
Yeah.
I don't know how this game. I also think this is the testing ground for a lot of the new systems and visuals we're going to see in Light No Fire. That game looks amazing, and now No Man's Sky also looks pretty freaking impressive. So
I'm trying to remember if he said it's going to be a singular planet, but like
it is one planet. Everyone's on one singular
right?
planet. Yeah.
So like taking all of this stuff that they've learned and procedurally generated an entire universe, condense that down into a singular planet. Like just think of that. You know what they've learned and what they've done. It's gonna. I feel like it's gonna be kind of insane. So
I think so too. When they like flying on these giant hummingbirds and stuff like that, or some kind of weird creature,
like dinosaur, right? They were like flying on like dinosaur
dragon, bird looking things. Yeah, dude, it looks great. It looks really great. So, hey, props to Hello Games for taking what at its face looked like a bit of a disaster when it first launched. Not because the game itself was a disaster, just from the expectations versus reality really hit hard. And props to them for making it work and bringing it back. All right, I think that's it for new stuff. Even though No Man's Sky isn't new, it feels like enough of a refresh to highlight it. Is there anything else new that you guys know of that's worth?
No, I mean we don't really actually play new games around here, Tim. So
no, everything's
Apparently old, we do. We all played Flintlock. We all played it.
Listen, we diddled it. We diddled it.
The tide is turning, and now in a month we'll all be playing Black Myth, and then a week after that we'll be playing Star Wars Outlaws. Like it's happening. It's happening.
I did find the things. I don't know. I have a whole binder of these collectible cards.
I didn't even know they had collectible. Dude. So is it a battle system like Pokemon?
Yeah. So like that's like their power levels on the side, and then you have like action cards that like do stuff, you know.
Dude, it's literally like screenshots from the actual anime. Like it's just
It's directly it's direct stuff from the anime. Yeah.
That's so awesome.
I got them all, pal. Look at these holographics, man.
God damn.
I got a whole fucking binder of them. Yeah. This is like my one of many, one of a few things that I actually finished like a collection on. Doesn't happen all the time.
That's crazy.
Yeah. That bottom row of the last ones you just showed me, like I just want that. I just want like that, but like blown up and then like frame it or something behind it.
Yeah.
Your camera does not.
My camera is being very dumb right now. It'll fix itself in a second.
It did a good job of focusing on the cards, and now it does not want to focus back on you.
Once what are you?
You know what happened, Kyle? It saw Krillin. Krillin did a solar flare, right? Yeah. And it just blinded the camera. So
Krillin did it.
Yeah, Krillin. It was Krillin. Yeah. It was Krillin.
Hey, it's nice to know that he's useful at some points.
I guess.
He does some stuff. It's more useful than Yamcha.
He bangs robots. That's what he does.
Hey, listen. I mean, good for him. Yeah, good for him.
Good for him.
Good for him.
All right, guys. News-wise, it's been, not surprisingly, a little slower. And you know what? That's just fine with me. I don't necessarily need it because a lot of the video game news this year has been, feels like, mostly negative. With the occasional exciting announcement or thing that's happening, but I'm kind of glad when it's quiet news. That means there's no major layoffs to yet again.
No one's being fired.
Bemoan and Although I did see this article that Kyle sent, speaking of people being fired, potential unionization happening under one of Microsoft's teams, right? So that could hopefully give them the footing they need. Now, listen, I am no expert on the issues of labor and unions and whether they should or shouldn't, and I understand the risks on both sides. I get it. I've watched The Office. I learned a lot, but no, I don't really know, but I do like at the core the idea of this industry finding some way, the employees specifically, some way to protect themselves and support each other And if a union's the way to go, if that's kind of what kicks it into the gear, that'd be great. But there needs to be something for these companies who overextend. And I think that's been the story I've been reading over the years. Like there was either a misunderstanding of the growth boom that happened or a mishandling of it or a combination of those things. Really bad forecasting based on some very unique circumstances during COVID that caused a lot of the growth that then kind of tapered off as people got back out into the open. Like there's a lot of factors at play, so many factors at play. And a lot of companies like Microsoft and others overextended with their hiring. They went overboard. And then when it was time to make cuts, now I think expectations for games went up. Like, all right, now you got to hit these benchmarks that are pretty much impossible unless you're Call of Duty, and then otherwise you're all fired. So yeah, anyway, all that to say, maybe something in the form of unionization, I can't even say it, is going to be a good way forward for the employees. I don't know. I'm just tired of hearing about people being fired in an industry that I am a huge fan of. So anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, I don't know if you guys have any strong opinions on that, or if you're of the same mindset of like, yeah, just protect each other. Oh, Kyle, you're on mute.
Yeah, I was saying in the chat that I don't know much about unions either, but it feels like specifically people need protection from Microsoft. So if Bethesda's the first person to like venture out and try this out or whatever, that's probably the right, studio to do it, because Microsoft's been very fire happy lately, and it's and the whole industry has. So I guess it's kind of unfair just to be like, oh, Microsoft, it's an industry wide problem. But like, yeah, does this fix everything? I've got no clue, but I feel like we need to try something, right? Something needs to change.
Yeah, when you shut down a studio like Tango, so freaking talented, and have really made nothing but great games, it was very telling of like, it feels like they moved the goalposts a bit. At first, Phil said, we want to give you space to make great things. That's all we really want. No, that's not all you want. You want a certain number of sales.
I thought the idea of like Game Pass,
you put it on Game Pass, you idiot.
Yeah, like, you're making enough money from the subscription of Game Pass to like keep some of this stuff afloat so they can keep on making interesting stuff, but that's not the promise, I guess. So
well, then they raised the price of Game Pass, so then obviously
maybe we were all bamboozled about what was the intentions or the promises or something like that. But yeah, I feel like something needs to change, and if unionizing is the way to go, again, I'm not versed in what that looks like or how that plays out, but like it's worth a try, right?
Yep.
And it's probably worth it to the employee who can wake up every day and just know, I'm walking into a job that I'm going to keep till the end of the week at least. So that's good, instead of every day walking in on eggshells.
Yep. Agreed.
Yeah, I know. I think the only thing I know involving unions is like there are fees, obviously, that kind of like get wrapped up in it, because it's not just like a hey, we protect you and you don't have to do anything. Like I think you have to pay into the union.
Oh,
right?
big
you
time.
Have to, fees and stuff.
So hopefully those fees aren't predatory. Hopefully, hopefully there is some.
What if
justice.
Phil put on a mustache and is the pretend leader?
I'm Spill Pencer. I'm union leader.
Spill Pencer. Oh Jesus. Grifting, just grifting.
That's amazing.
That would be awful.
Yeah, but it'd make for a really funny movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it would.
Sure.
It would. It certainly would.
This is random. I'm just reading through some of these headlines. 82% of American players made an in-game purchase last year, the survey suggests. Have you guys made any that's what I was going to ask you. Have you guys made in-game purchases in recent memory?
Sure. I mean, yeah, I couldn't tell you what, but it was probably something small or insignificant, maybe. I don't. Yeah, but yeah, sure.
I can't think of the last
I don't have a habit out of it, but every once in a while I'll be like, yeah, I want that thing. Helldivers was probably the last time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think I maybe spent a couple bucks to be like, oh, I want that armor.
Yeah, when was the last time I did that? It might have been in an MMO.
Probably shamefully some Fortnite bucks.
Fortnite. Yeah. Okay, so if you count like my family members, then yeah, like all the time, my kids are always buying Rocket League or Fortnite or whatever thing that they're playing now. Oh, actually, I'll talk about it later. My two sons started playing Star Wars Hunters, but there's a lot of stuff you can buy in there as well. But I guess that makes sense. Every once in a while, I'll even see a little notification from Apple that our credit card was just charged $2.99. I was like, what? And I'll look and see, and it's just my wife playing whatever little puzzle game that she's in, and she just wanted to buy more of the double time treasure chest or whatever it's called. I don't know. Whatever game she's playing.
She's gonna be the whale. She's gonna be giving them all the money.
We gotta keep the ball rolling here.
But it's funny because that stuff's all connected to my account. My kid stuff's ultimately connected to my account. So it looks like these companies think Tim Nestor is a
Tim loves microtransactions.
I don't know the last time I purchased something. It might have been back in the Rocket League days, maybe. Like I'm talking like 5 years ago with like the Batman car and stuff. But maybe other stuff since then. I don't know.
You gotta buy the Batman car.
Well, I had.
Yeah.
That doesn't even count.
What are you crazy? You know,
So anyway, that's interesting. It's not a surprise either. I'm actually a little surprised that it's as low as 82% now that I'm thinking about it. I think everyone, when you think of people who actually actively play games, purchase seems like an okay case. Maybe I have, and I just can't think of it. Maybe Pokemon Go, I purchased a couple things.
I mean, with all the free to play stuff out there, that's the point of it, right?
Pokemon Go might have been the last time I spent some money. I was really into it for the last time, probably a couple years ago. I may have purchased like an inventory upgrade or something.
I didn't even remember. Was there stuff in the beginning that you could purchase extra?
Oh, you can buy a lot of stuff in Pokemon, like lots of, whether it's the items, whether it's the incense to get Pokemon to come near you more frequently, or more Pokeballs, or the little fruit that you can use to help catch them.
And that game like made billions of dollars. They didn't do that from being just a free game. So.
They also sell a lot of really helpful stuff. And I remember, I think I did this at least twice during the first year or two it was out, where you can expand your Pokebox so you can hold more monsters. And you expand it by 50 for 99 cents or $1.99 or whatever. And I'm like, well, yeah, I'm going to do that. Like, those kind of, so I'm sure I've done those, but again, that was a while ago. I haven't fired up Pokemon Go in a minute.
I know First Descendant really wants me to pay money, but like I uninstalled that game. So like, I was just like, yeah, no way, dude. Like, get out of here with that. It's just so crazy how invasive like the HUD was in that game, and that's how most of these games, even Warframe, which I would say is pretty not predatory, still has a lot of like, you want to buy this Tenno suit? Yeah.
Thick ass Space Ninja, huh?
I can see a lot of people just kind of falling for it, be like, yeah, I don't want to grind. Let me just spend $5.99 and get this thing. Everyone, don't play First Descendant. Take a stand. Take a stand.
I do want to play Once Human. That game looks cool. I want to play.
Yeah, go play Once Human. That game seems cooler.
And I really do like a good survival action game, so I'm interested in that.
First Descendants just feels like a bunch of different games all blended into one thing, and the execution is fine, but like
it's fine.
It's just
like
fun.
It plays like it's competent, but it's just.
Well, I mean, Once Human also. I brought it up because it also has.
Husk.
Once Human also has in-game purchases because it's a free-to-play game.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's probably gonna do the same thing to me.
Probably, but yeah, maybe the moment-to-moment gameplay is cooler because it's a survival game. Whereas like First Descendant is just like a bullet spongy like bullshit. Ooh, my room's falling apart apparently. It's
your Dragon Ball Z cars. There's too much power in those things.
Yeah, right. I don't know. Free-to-play games are a weird one, but that's like. We're in it. Like that's life, right? Like I don't know if that's going anywhere. So
okay, so Kyle, this one's for you, buddy. The next Like a Dragon studio game is about to be revealed in September at the Tokyo Game Show.
God bless you for bringing this up. Thank you so much. Yeah.
And apparently they have teased that the next title is going to surprise fans. That's a quote.
Yeah.
So I don't know what that means. Does that mean it's not going to be a Like a Dragon or?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that's interesting because they're kind of like we're owed a Judgment 3, obviously they're going to keep on going with Like a Dragon, but if like they tried something new, that'd be pretty cool.
I mean, the live action series is coming out in October.
I know, I'm really excited about that.
Oh,
yeah,
is there?
Yeah. There's just no marketing on it, and it's already shot and done. And I'm like, there's no way this is going to be good, but I'm excited for it.
Yeah, it's going to be like 3 episodes on October 25th. The final 3 episodes the next week after that in November. So anyway, yeah,
I'm excited. Yeah, I can't wait.
Maybe the surprise is more about the genre and less about the IP. I don't know.
Yeah, a surprise makes me think they're talking IP. I think it's going to be something. I think it's going to be something outside of Yakuza. If I had to take a guess,
maybe something new, or they could be bringing back something they've done before. Who knows?
Yeah.
But that's always fun, right?
It's space next. They're going to space. That's what they're doing.
I would love that. Yeah.
Next, Like a Dragon.
Yeah, why not? Other than that, we know that Game Pass prices raised, but I'm pretty sure that was old news at this point, right? That's not.
Yeah.
I mean, I did some new stuff on the last episode, but it wasn't.
You didn't really dive into that one, but unless I'm misremembering, I might have missed if you guys did dive into it.
I don't think we talked. Nah.
I don't know. Listen, every platform has a subscription service. Game Passes, in my opinion, at least over the last several years, has been the best gaming one, just in terms of the volume, quality, and freshness of the games that come out.
It is pretty cool to pretend like it's not, though, right?
It is cool to pretend that it's just like
right.
It's on
it's
par
kind of cool to be kind of an edgelord, like against the grain
Yes.
type, and be like, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
It's not that
By
great.
the way, that's my favorite little message in Elden Ring when someone does edgelord, because those are two words you can put together, and they'll just have someone like do the emote of like sitting down all cool, and I'll say edgelord. I do like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do think the price increase is not great, especially the fact that it hasn't even been 12 months since they acquired Activision officially, and that was already like, if in my mind it's like, guys, lay low, make your money for a while, like make it work. You've got enough in the bank, just make it work. But nope, they gotta.
It's that infinite growth bullshit.
They're really embracing the heel turn. That's for sure.
Yeah,
I guess
they spent the money, and then we get punished by them charging us more.
But is the goal just bottom line revenue, or because of course that's the goal? Don't get me wrong, but like, wouldn't you rather make a little less money now to continue to bring in more and more subscribers who are going to bring longer lifetime value? And then if you have to increase the price down the road, I think most of us understand that things get more expensive over time, little by little.
Yeah.
This just feels like they already just raised it. Like, I don't know. I feel like they just raised it recently.
Yeah, I feel like it's an optics thing too. You know, you're already in the news for a lot of like negative stuff. Maybe take a year, you know, like you're saying, like let this ride out for a little bit. Like why do you need to keep on?
It's such a roller coaster
ending
ride
up in the headline as like doing something. Well, Microsoft did something stupid this week. You know, like it just feels like this is happening all the time.
Let's lay off our best teams. Let's have an incredible Summer Games Fest showcase to get everyone excited again, and then let's raise the price of our subscription service and also make it convoluted like our competitors, who everyone makes fun of for being so convoluted. And I don't know, man.
When they raised it last year, it was right before Starfield came out, so you kind of saw the business decision. You're like, okay, they want us to pay a little more to play like their big AAA game that they spent a bunch of money on. What did we get? Yeah. Like, why did we just get a price? Like, what are we getting?
The same. Yeah.
Yeah. What are we getting for this price increase?
Yeah.
You know,
this also just seems to be like a thing with all streaming type stuff. Like Game Pass is video game related, right? But like all these streaming services over the years just.
So Max would be the best parallel to me. Is that Max, got HBO and all that stuff. They raised the price, and then they like canceled a bunch of shows and sold off a bunch of shows. Like I'm talking tentpole shows like Westworld and like big shows, you know. Yeah. So now we're paying more and getting less, you know. So, and again, that's just capitalism or whatever. But like that's a good parallel. Is that this is happening in entertainment everywhere. But some people are doing it way more and way worse than others, you know. It seems like some people are just, hey, we're the best, so we're just gonna ask for whatever, you know. And Microsoft, you're not the best, you know. Like you're the underdog in this story, you know. Like so you need to, I don't know, stop doing this weird stuff, you know, where you're just like in the headlines constantly for like bad.
But people, the fanboys will argue that they aren't the underdog because Game Pass is better than PlayStation Plus Premium and all that stuff.
Yeah,
so
well, it's funny how that story like shifts depending on what point you're trying to make, you know.
yeah, exactly. So it's like, I don't know, man. It's annoying because it
just
feels
annoying.
Like
I'll pay it. I don't care. I use Game Pass, you know. Like I'm not suddenly, you know, just not going to use it. And like I was on Ultimate and it was just a few dollars more, which is whatever, you know. I'm not going to miss $3.
If you just get it on PC, by the way, I think price is staying the same and you still get all the day one stuff.
Yep.
So
PC's got it the best, you know.
Yeah. So this is just affecting, you know, the Xbox crowd where they are struggling to keep people interested the most. So
Sure.
Great. Good job, guys. Good job.
Yeah.
It is interesting though that you can now get just essentially like this Amazon Fire Stick and an Xbox controller and then use the cloud through their app that's now native to the Amazon Fire stuff, where it's like, just play Xbox games through the cloud if you have a Game Pass subscription. Like we've all talked for years about how this is where it's probably going.
Yeah.
But we're seeing Microsoft actually roll it out with big time partners like Amazon, who in some ways are their competitor, but in other ways it makes sense for them to team up.
Yeah.
By the way, speaking of cloud gaming, not really cloud, but I guess remote play, I have a few times used the PS5 remote play. I have the app on my PC. I've tried it a few times. I've tried it on Steam Deck. It works pretty well. I just can't use it for anything that, I don't know, requires like reaction time. Like I tried it in the football game, and it was not working with football unless I'm just doing the menu parts of things. But I can't play the actual football game or any kind of action title not working. But yeah, turn-based games, it's great.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah. Little indies
little indies, dialogue games. But if it's like precision platforming or
you're not like loading up Destiny 2, on that thing.
Was I on?
I guess you could, but it
could
seem weird. I guess
I'm not gonna do that. Yeah.
So I don't know how I even made this work, but I'm pretty sure it was on the PS3. I was doing the PlayStation Plus streaming of what the hell is it? Kyle, I don't know if you ever played Asura's Wrath.
Yeah. Oh my God, are you kidding me? That game rocks.
I did the PlayStation like streaming of that.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe it was PS4.
Isn't that game kind of like just QuickTime events for the most part?
Dude, it's like Dragon Ball
Z. There's a third-person action piece of it, but a lot of it is you're like watching an interactive anime.
Yeah.
And then like when you fight bosses, it is very like Devil May Cry is not the right word. No, I mean I'm talking beyond the QuickTime events. There is a game component to it. Yes.
Yeah. But like I did like that as streaming, which was like I don't know how I accomplished that. But like something like that kind of worked, but I guess it depends on game to game, right?
Capcom, make Asura's Wrath 2.
Also, don't make the actual ending then trapped behind DLC that you released like X amount of time later. So because that's both. Yeah. That's both.
We should be in charge of these companies. Every time we talk about this stuff, I feel like we have the best ideas. We have the best ideas.
I got finger on the pulse.
Thanks to the ESRB rating for the upcoming Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom game. We do know for sure that at some point in the game you'll be controlling Link, because it does say that you'll be as
Link.
It's
the very beginning. That's what I think.
That's most predictions are saying that. Others think there's potential of having dual heroes later on by the end of the game, or maybe a mode once you beat it where you can play more as Link or something.
I can see there being like two realities, kind of like the Dark World and Light World from Link to the Past,
Yeah, like
Link's on one side.
That'd be really cool, actually. Like you're Zelda in the main world and you're Link in this underworld and you're helping each other out.
Yeah.
But I'm also totally down with a completely Link for like the first 5 minutes and then Zelda the rest of the way. That sounds.
I'm gonna kill so many orcs with beds. Like I'm so excited for this game. Like I'm
absolutely
so
bed.
Cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Put him to bed.
Absolutely. I was actually looking. I just realized that'd be cool to have one of the Steam Deck docks with me in my hotel while I'm at this place for a week. It'd be cool to be able to. I know it won't like look amazing, but to be able to just plug it into the TV.
I use mine. I almost always play my Steam Deck docked.
Do you just use like Bluetooth controller then?
Yeah, I use a Xbox controller. Yeah.
And it works well.
Oh yeah. It's amazing. You might need to upgrade your Xbox controller on your PC so it
syncs up or whatever.
Yeah. Like I had to there was an extra step for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it works really well. Yeah, and it doesn't look great like you're saying. It's not like it's blowing it up to 4K or anything like that. But it's nice. Yeah.
That's why my wife wants one, because there's all those like farm sim games on Steam, and she's like, "Oh, I want to play these." They're not.
I treat it like a Switch. Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah. But then when it's plugged in, yes, the power of it is like a very low end PC, but if it's plugged in, battery life concern goes out the window, and you can play your Steam library on a TV. So that's nice.
Yeah, I mean, I was playing Space Marines on it the other day, and I was like, "This is great." It came through 5.1 surround sound too. It figured out my whole setup without a lot of BS. So
yeah, I'm trying to figure out, should I just go with Valve and get their $80 one, or should I try some of these Amazon third-party ones?
I got a third-party one and it works fine. I don't think it's literally just a thing that is a pass-through for the HDMI. You know what I mean? There's not proprietary, sophisticated technology. And
this one has a bunch of USB as well, so I could plug in a controller direct to it.
You could, yeah. A lot of them have Ethernet ports too, so you can just plug your deck directly into.
This one says it works for the ROG Ally or the Steam Deck or whatever you want, because it all has similar little attachments, I guess. That's cool. Anyway, sorry, shopping while talking. I think that's it for headlines that jump out to me, unless you guys know of something that's
everyone go check out IGN's month-long coverage of Star Wars Outlaws. There's been a lot of really cool videos this month. A lot of cool videos this week.
Is it too much? Do you feel like they're overexposing it?
No, I mean, people saw the 10-minute unfiltered gameplay, and there was a lot of backlash on that. And like Ubisoft had to make a statement. They're like, guys, it was just a slice of the game or whatever. But everyone said it looked really empty. I didn't get that thing. I think there's a lot of like anti-Star Wars bullshit, going on right now, or always. Not right now. It's not specific to right now, but like, yeah, people. But it looked cool. I mean, like, if you were excited about the game before, I don't think watching these trailers are gonna like de-escalate your excitement. Yeah. If anything, it's just cool to like, oh, cool, look how that speeder is going, and a lot of cool Far Cry stuff, a lot of cool like deep dives into the different gangs and factions and stuff like that. Telling you which just came from Star Wars, which ones they created like in-house from the dev team, just cool insider stuff. A lot of dev diary stuff, that I tend to really like. So that's up your alley. Go check that stuff out.
Yeah, I like that.
Also, I mean, I'm not a huge Star Wars fan, but I've seen most of the movies, and like sometimes there's just scenes where they're traveling across a desert or something, and there's nothing happening. They're just traveling.
Pretty empty.
I mean, yeah, one of like the most famous scenes from Star Wars is like when Anakin's like chasing down the Tusken Raiders on his on his swoop bike or whatever. And like, there's no side quests.
Listen, if you want that kind of experience, the Old Republic game is still there. It's an excellent MMO. You can play it for free. Yeah. And they have found ways to just add random lizard enemies out in the middle of the desert everywhere you look. Like, you can go do that. And there's always things to fight. But I'm very excited for Outlaws. I'm pumped.
Yeah, same.
Speaking of trailers, apparently don't watch the Deadpool Wolverine trailer. Even though I tried not to watch it to avoid it, multiple outlets already posted a picture of the character who's going to show up and already spoiled it. I was like, why would you? Okay, never mind.
It needs to stop. Why are we doing? I'm so tired of this.
Could have been a cool.
Here's the real twist: is that she was part of the cast a long time ago. That she was already.
Sure.
I didn't even know that. That's good. That's cool. Yeah.
But I mean, it's just like, I don't know, man. It's like
trailers. They'll get you. But I am excited for Deadpool Wolverine. I think it looks hilarious. Yes. That comes out this week, I think, right? I think it's this week.
Damn, is it?
I think so. This coming week.
Might have to go to the theater finally.
Might have to leave your house.
Yeah, no, that sounds awful.
Yeah, no thanks.
All right,
awful. Dan, what are some things that you've been playing or watching that you want to highlight?
Well, so last night I finished Final Fantasy III Pixel Remaster.
Hey-o!
Very cool.
So I'm halfway there, guys. I'm halfway there.
You're halfway there.
I'm halfway there. So now I got 4, 5, and 6, and then I'll be done with all 6 of the Pixel remasters.
You're streaming these, Dan?
I'm telling you.
Yes.
Those are the better 3, that's for sure.
Well, sure, yeah. These are like the big boys, right? And I mean that's a fun arc too, like seeing them like they start with 1, 2, and 3, like what they did there with those Final Fantasies, and then like where they went like from 4 on, and then 5 and 6.
And 4 really set the table for so many RPGs to come. Like 6 is my personal favorite of that stretch there, but 4 really did set the table for so much of what we saw in RPGs for that whole decade, really.
Yeah, 4 is of the old ones. 4 is like my favorite. I like that it's just a little more like focused, because 6 is just like a lot, and not in a bad way, but like there's just so many characters that you can have in your party, and there's just all these different elements going on, and they like separate and then come back and so on and so forth. And I think Dark Knight has always been one of my favorite jobs in Final Fantasy. Like any of the games that like you can, the job system or the MMOs, like Dark Knight, it always just looks so sick to me. And the main character of 4, Cecil, is a Dark Knight, so it's just super rad. I always just kind of resonated with that. But 3 was really fun. I really, really enjoyed it. I like it slightly more than 1. Because it was the first one where it basically actually implemented the job system. Because in the first one, there's it says like Black Mage and it actually is their jobs, but there wasn't like really a system, right? It was very simple. It was the first game that they made. And in 3, they were like, all right, we're gonna like give you options, and you can like equip a new job. on one of your party members. So, and I just think the job system's really cool. It just adds that little extra element of customization and like, oh, how do I want my party layout to be? And like, do I want to switch to this one now because I'm halfway through the game, but this job's level is this, and then I'm going to start at level 1 with this one, but this one's pretty rad. So, yeah, I like 3 slightly more than 1. 1 is super chill, very very simple, but like just really like breezy to get through, and it has like just such a great like vibe of the origin of the series. It's like that's the first game, and it's just like I don't know, it just feels really cozy. And then 2 is definitely like the weird one. It's the quirky one. I didn't hate it by any means whatsoever, but they tried to do something different on their second go, and it didn't quite totally land, but I respect it. And there were some elements there that were interesting. So, so yeah, 3 I like the most, then 1, then 2.
Okay.
So that would be the order so far.
All right. Well, I'm excited to hear your revised thoughts on 4, 5, 6 as you dive into those. Those are I never did finish 4 or 5. I put some time into 5 though, more than 4. I think I barely played, if I played it at all. I just know about it. Yeah. Of course, 6, just like our Super Nintendo days back in the 90s, that was my game. So I played it through like 5 times. Like, and I had the guide. Like that was my game. You know what I mean? So
that's right. I mean, that is the big one. I mean, arguably, if you're going to be like, well, what is like the most objectively popular one? It's usually 6 or 7, I feel like, are
6 and 7,
in the whole series. So
I agree.
But I'm going to actually take a little detour here because I've done a couple of the streams of Stellar Blade, that little challenge run that I'm doing. So we're pausing Final Fantasy. I'm gonna do my challenge run of Stellar Blade. Reminder, I'm doing it on so New Game Plus, so I do have the like extra health and all that, but I'm doing it on hard difficulty with skin suit only. So
dude, that's gotta be tough to talk to people and host a stream while playing something so demanding like that. I've seen other people do it, of course. I know it just feels like that's tougher.
There's it depends on the games, yes and no, because with like the Pixel remasters, for example, I'm reading everything. So like I'm reading the dialogue of the game, but then I'm also reading chat. Whereas with Stellar Blade, the dialogue is being spoken. So I can kind of just sit there and like listen, and everybody else can listen. And then during lulls, I can read the chat. So I actually kind of like that more, if I'm gonna be honest.
That makes sense. That totally makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Because also I'm not a voice actor. I feel like I'm just reading the dialogue. It's just my dumb schmuck voice. Like blah blah blah, you know, characters talking, blah blah blah. And then there's actual real professionals doing the voice acting of things. So but yeah, so I'm excited to do that, and then we'll deviate back into Final Fantasy.
Nice.
But well, I feel like there was something else I wanted to mention. I'm in the middle of Bear season 3. I think I have like a couple episodes left. I like season 2. I think season 2 is definitely stronger than what I'm seeing so far of season 3. But there's been some like really solid episodes in season 3, just like really emotional ones, good payoffs, and just like really the acting in that show is amazing.
So good.
Like it's really really good. I mean,
I haven't watched season 3 yet, and I've heard mixed reviews, but generally speaking, they're like it is more Bear. Like if you like that show, you probably will like it. It's just not as good.
Yeah.
Season 2 just had so many kind of surprise moments that were so cool.
Well, like it built to something, right? And then it was just like this whole other thing, and it was like, oh, okay, that's really interesting. And then it kind of cliffhanger there at the end. So,
I did see a clip, I think, unless it was from season 2 and I forgot it, where the guy goes out to serve like the soup and he pours it, but then brings it back into the back.
Yeah, that's this season.
That looks so funny. That clip was hilarious.
He was so proud of himself too.
And he's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And then Cuz comes in and is like, I got it. I saw the whole thing. I got it. I love that.
Yeah, that was good. That was good. And then I'm like at the precipice of finishing Eiyuden Chronicle.
Hey.
So, but I'll be discussing that, in depth soon. Somewhere else. So wink wink. Kyle gets what I'm saying.
Like,
right? I mean,
by yourself?
No, on the other thing.
Okay. Yeah.
Because that's the only thing I even really have to discuss, because that's like mainly what I've been focusing on. So but I mean, obviously at the same time too, because I know you had jumped into it, Kyle. I'm not gonna be like super spoilery or anything, but yeah, this game is fantastic. I've already said a few times, but everyone who graded this game 7 and lower are fucking dumb. This game's really good. Yeah. And
does playing this, Dan, and maybe you'll know more by the time you finish it, but it feels like you've had enough hours with it now that you'll know the answer to this. Does this mean that whenever Suikoden 1 and 2 Remastered do come out, even more than maybe you had before, you definitely are going to dive into those? Or do you feel like, okay.
Yeah, I definitely intended on doing them because I know those are RPGs that I just I missed and shame on me. Because I've only played the third one. Mm-hmm. And it's I know 2 is the beloved one. So
yeah, but 1 is so good too. 1's easy to overlook because 2's more polished and it looked better, of course. It was prettier. But 1 is a really solid game too, really fun, really good game.
Well, it carries the stuff over too, which is awesome. I love
the storyline and characters and world. A lot of that's very connected. Yep.
And apparently
you can even recruit your hero character in the second one.
Exactly. So that is super rad to me. I think that's really cool. So
and hero character and maybe someone else, depending on if you did the right things for that person to survive in the first one. I love that kind of stuff.
Dude, literally in this game, that happened to me. So I'm pretty sure I'm locked out of the very last character that I could recruit. I'm so mad. I'm so mad. Because it's there's just no there is no way I could have known. There's no way. And that I think is a little frustrating. At least maybe some way hinting in the game towards that in some way, shape, or form. But it's you would have to read the guide to know that that's the case.
Right.
And I think that's really frustrating. And now if there is a trophy attached to getting all of them, I'm not getting the trophy. So now I'm mad. Mm-hmm. But that's okay. I'm still very much enjoying the game. Yeah, it's a really good game. Anybody into RPGs, old school RPGs, please play Eiyuden Chronicles.
Eiyuden Chronicles. 100 Heroes.
100 Heroes.
Yeah, good game. All right, cool. Anything else, Dan?
I think that's it. I think that's all I got.
All right, Kyle, if you're still alive, thank you for pushing through your sickness, by the way. I know you're really fighting a crappy flu.
I'm running out of HP bar over here.
Why don't you, with your whatever energy you got left, anything you've been playing or watching that you want to share about that you're excited about?
I brought up the first Descendant earlier. If you're playing that game, uninstall it right now. Play a better game. I'm
deleted it.
Continuing to play Trails Through Daybreak. It's absolutely excellent. I love everything about it. I think it's so good. It makes me mad that this game doesn't have a bigger budget and these games don't get more attention over here. I'm really I think it's so interesting, and I'm still I'm pretty 20% through the game, so says PlayStation, and the real story hasn't even really started yet, but I don't care because I think the characters are just so interesting, and I think the world is so cool, and I love the little mystery and the little threads that we're pulling here, and I know it's going to turn into something bigger. And I'm just absolutely loving it. I just learned that you could go to watch movies and go on dates, and it's basically Persona. So a lot of cool stuff going on with that. So I'm just loving that game. I wish I had more time to play it, but I keep on just catching it in 2-hour increments. So the only other game I have been playing is the E7. Not 8, not 9, the one that's about to come out, but I went back to re-download E7, which is considered the best of the series. It's on Switch. It's on everything, I think. And boy, that game is a lot of fun.
It has a subtitle, right? The YS series.
Yeah, probably.
Something of something.
Yeah, it's always some nonsense Japanese title.
Something.
Very, very, very cool game. The setup is you get stranded and shipwrecked on an island, and you're kind of charting the island. And the combat's live action, real time rather, excuse me. So it's just a nice, I'm playing a JRPG, but I'm not playing another turn-based game. I feel like I've played 1,000 turn-based games this year. Not a complaint. I'm just glad to break it up a little bit. So, I'm really enjoying that game. And I've played it because I like the trailer for the new game so much. I was like, I gotta go back and beat that other one. I'm interested in playing that whenever the new one comes out.
Probably E7, just E7. Which is shocking.
Really? That is shocking.
7.
It's just E7.
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 Yeah, shows-wise, I'm continuing to be blown away by House of the Dragon every week. A lot of dragons in that show. Very cool show. Stakes are very high in that show.
Dragons, you say? Interesting.
Yeah. Not called House of the Mouse. So, I'm really enjoying it. I'm sad that there's only a couple episodes left because I know they're going to take like 14 years to come up with the next season. So, I hate this. I hate this new trend where everything takes like 3 years to come out.
Sure.
But show is so high quality, and it's on track to become better than Game of Thrones. I think it will. Like even like ending of the other one, like that controversy aside, talking about like its cultural impact, if you will. I think it's on track to like be as big, if not bigger. Blown away by that show. And then I watched the Gran Turismo movie. Yeah, it's fine. You'll watch it if you like cars.
Sure. If you like cars.
Yeah. If you like movies about rookies figuring out a way to become the best ever in the most unlikely scenarios, go watch it.
I like those things.
Who doesn't love that genre? That very specific genre.
David Harbour, like totally, like he's so. Why is that guy not in all the movies? It's just so crazy to me how good.
Well, he was in the Hellboy movie, Kyle, and that didn't do too well. So.
Well, blame other people on that. I don't know. But
by the way, there's a new Hellboy. I don't know if you guys know.
It looks like a fan film. It looks so bad.
I had no clue that was even a thing.
I saw someone put up an article about like how has Hellboy looked worse every time they put out, and like it's just gotten worse. Ron
it's
Perlman
almost like Guillermo
was
del Toro knows what he's doing or something. It's kind of crazy.
Almost, yeah.
It's almost like a director and writer.
Almost
matters.
like he's like a visionary and writer combo. Interesting.
Yeah. Imagine that. Yeah, but pretty light on my end in terms of digesting and stuff like that. But
okay.
Yeah.
All right, well, I'll wrap it up quick with some stuff that we are watching and playing. As far as watching goes, went to see Inside Out 2, just adorable. Pixar, in my opinion, even when they have a miss, it's like, that's too bad, but I'm going to trust them to come back. And I'm glad that I think of it that way, because even when one of their movies, like Elemental, didn't really do it for me. It's fine if you liked it. I just didn't think it was all that great. But Inside Out 2 is phenomenal. If you liked the first one, I thought it did a great job yet again of exploring the complex issues of emotions and growing up and maturity and adolescence, but in fun ways that lets the parents and kids laugh together. And it was just, I thought it was really excellent. Our whole family enjoyed it.
Broke a lot of records too in the box office. So people are showing up.
It's a sequel to a beloved one, like one of the most beloved in some case. Like some people list Inside Out as their favorite, and I understand why. It's excellent.
Pretty good,
And the second one, I think, if you like, it's more of the first one, but it's even more creative. There's these fun little bits, these little gags they have in there that are recurring, that are just kind of like, man, some real comedy writers legit helped with this because it's funny. Like they did a good job.
Pixelated like warrior guy, right? Is that like
there is Lance Slashblade? Yes.
Yeah.
It's just Cloud.
It's just Cloud.
He's just Cloud.
So the place where he is and the way they use his character in a very short, just couple of scenes, so funny. Like I loved it. He looked like a PlayStation 2 3D fighter character, and it's so funny. Anyway, the way they use his character is very funny. That alone is worth looking at that clip. If you see that whole clip, is so good. Anyway, so we watched that, loved it. We're watching that Netflix show Receiver, of course. My wife and I are both NFL fans, and so we really like Receiver. I love some good behind the scenes documentary style stuff. They're doing a great job. They did a great job with the last time with quarterback, and Receiver is also very compelling, very Hard Knocks like documentary style, following players and their families. So it's good. I think if there's anything else I watched, I don't think so. But I will say bunch of games. One, I tried the demo for this game called Rekka. It recommended it to me because it knows I like building and survival crafting. Recommended Rekka. It's Reka. It's okay. It's like you're this little, you're a girl who kind of is taken on by your mentor, who is apparently this ostracized witch, who some people call the Baba Yaga. It's like another take on that fairy tale or nightmare story, whatever it is. But she trains you and teaches you stuff, and you eventually get this gigantic, I'm not kidding, like walking chicken platform thing that you can build your house on and like walk it around. It's just very strange, but I found it to be super janky. It's a demo and it's early access, so I'm not judging it too harshly. It is creative visually, but can't really recommend it super strongly. But it's if it gets some polish, it could be an interesting kind of survival builder adventure game. I played a lot more Planet Zoo. Sometimes I just get the itch for like making money, whether it's zoos or roller coasters or whatever it is. There's just a city. I like doing that kind of stuff. So or like a game design studio. I like jumping into Game Tycoon randomly. All of a sudden, I'll just get the itch to play something like that. So this time it was Planet Zoo. Had a lot of fun. CD keys and the summer sale had a bunch of all the DLC super, super cheap. So there's lots of cool new animals and scenarios they've added. So I played some of that. Good time. I did finish Shadow of the Erd Tree. There's not a lot more to say about that. I've talked about it a ton already. It is amazing. It's fantastic. That final battle was super difficult. I only think I won because I'm level like 240, and even in New Game Plus where everything's stronger, that's just over leveled. And I'm not afraid to say it. I'm not ashamed to say it. But it allowed me to kind of get through most of the boss fights without too many tries. Like in some cases it was 10, 15 tries, sometimes close to 20 probably. And that last boss was one of those examples. He's really tough. But it's cool. It looks really cool. I understand the anger at it because it is a difficult fight. But it was very satisfying. Loved it. Loved the story behind it. I thought it was super. I mean, FromSoft, it's just so good, man. So absolutely loved it. I did all the main bosses, all the legendary ones, and all except for I think one of the great enemies. And I know which one I missed. It's a repeat one that I'm not that interested in going after again. So yeah, I feel like I've got. I don't know that I explored every single little corner of this massive new expansion, but I explored probably 90% of it, like most of it. I got most of the experience, and I feel pretty good about it. So really enjoyed my time with that. And that led me to say, all right, is now the time. I've already got my blood pumping. I've already got the FromSoft Twitch fingers going. I'm ready. It's time to jump into Sekiro. It's time to do this thing. So I jumped into Sekiro.
The best From Software game, by the way.
Well, I understand why some people might think that. I do. More so than I did before when I first played it. But it's only a 13 gig install. Like,
yeah, it's sorcery.
What?
Some of these games, it's like, what?
It's like a Switch game, and it looks great. So anyway, playing Sekiro, I am now in the Sunken Valley. I know I'm in the second half of that game, but I know there's still a good number of tough bosses ahead of me. So remains to be seen if I actually complete it, but I don't know why I wouldn't. I'm very invested in it right now, you know. And even the tough bosses that I've come up against, I've been able to kind of chip away at, learn the patterns and figure it out. And honestly, some of the tougher bosses for me are some of these like out in the world mini bosses that I'm like, oh, this guy has like 4 ads around him, and I got to figure out how to get rid of them safely without using up all my healing before I fight this guy, because whatever pattern he uses gets me every friggin' time. So sometimes they're a little tougher. I got to tell you that the top of the castle Ashina fight against Genichiro was Genichiro, thank you. Such a freaking cool fight. Like,
that's my favorite.
It might be my favorite FromSoft boss fight, just in terms of like, it's super epic, and the second phase is incredibly epic. It's at least on par with some of my favorite Elden Ring boss battles when you go to the second phase and you're like, holy crap, this is cool. So there's that, but also it's very satisfying. Like, it is a test of your skill and your reflexes, but not at one point did I feel like, well, this is unfairly difficult. And I have felt that way with a lot of FromSoft bosses, both Bloodborne and Elden Ring and in Sekiro. I felt like I'm going to have to watch a video on how to cheese this thing because this is too difficult. And I didn't feel like this guy was that way, but he was a test of skill. I really liked the boss fight, the dialogue happening, the stakes of like what you're fighting for. Just so well done.
The cinematic of it, like just being up at the top of the building and being able to like see all around, and you're just like sword fighting another dude with the sword. Like, it's just so anime.
And you worked your way through this castle, up. You keep going up, and you get to these really tough samurai, enemies, and you get through these tough bosses, and you finally get all the way up there, and you want to stop this guy from what he's trying to do. And man, it's just really good, really satisfying fight. I loved that. I've done a bunch of the extra side stuff too. It's funny to look back now. Like, I think I tried Madame Butterfly like 2-3 times when I first played this game, and I was like, yeah, but I already kind of wanted to play something else. And so that was a good reason to be like, nah, I'll come back to this game some other day. This time I fought Madame Butterfly. It didn't take a ton of tries, maybe 6 or 7. And again, I just had to learn the patterns. Like, okay, when she does this, I just need to do this. Got it. And then once you kind of get the rhythm of it, then for the most part, you can do it. If you're paying attention, if you're in the zone, if your response time is good. there are certainly fights, and I already know of a couple that I'm gonna face towards the end of the game that are like notorious for being almost unfairly difficult, like the Sword Saint I keep hearing about that I'm not looking forward to. So anyway, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But I'm really loving it. That game is a blast. I don't necessarily need this game to be a build-centric game like I love from Elden Ring. So I'm fine with that not being there. But that is something that keeps it from being my favorite. It doesn't really have deep RPG mechanics that make me go, whoa, I'm really crafting my shinobi here. You do have some skill trees. You do have plenty of upgrades, but it is much more linear in scope and in design and in character development for a reason. It's telling a story, and it wants you to develop. You can pick what prosthetic tools to use. Like, you have options. There was one boss, by the way, I couldn't beat this stupid guy. He was like this bug looking thing that had these Wolverine claws, and his pattern was just killing me, and my poise died I was so irritated. And then finally I just started doing a combination of fireworks and then the axe combo, where I built that up and I could do axe and then swing. And I just did that like 4 times and he was dead. I was like, well, okay, now I feel stupid. Yeah, now I feel stupid that I just didn't do that at the beginning. So
yeah, it's definitely a much more and that's the thing where, like, obviously I'm being sarcastic with that sort of stuff, but like, I mean, Elden Ring is, of the Souls proper games, like my favorite, because it's just like it's the previous Soul games with like this just like Metroidvania like world that's just like labyrinthian, and it's just like go do whatever and look for stuff, and it's like, this is amazing. But like Sekiro is just feels like this different thing.
It's so different, and it's so focused. I feel like it's such a focused experience, and I'm really digging it. The cultural touches, I feel like I'm there in like feudal Japan. Like it just feels.
And it's a samurai game, so I mean, love samurai shit.
Yeah, it's really cool. The dialogue's great. Some of the little storylines are cool. The stuff with Dragon Rot is really interesting, and how you can clear that. It gives you some punishments for dying, but also gives you pretty easy ways to clear it. So just don't die too much,
That's all. Just don't die too much.
But it doesn't feel as punishing. Like when you die, you have potential to lose half your money and half your experience that you've built up. But it's really as straightforward as just use that stuff. Just spend it. Just spend your money and spend your experience. Don't let it sit there and build up and keep like this. Just like other Souls games. Like when you get opportunity, spend it. That way you don't sit there with this mountain of riches that you could lose at any second.
That's right.
Anyway, I do love that game. It's a lot of fun. All right, Star Wars Hunters. My boys are playing that a little bit. I actually am not playing it myself, but I was watching them play. They both downloaded it on the Switch, and they're loving it. Like, it's got this touch of Overwatch, little bits of Fortnite, just in terms of like the way it can look and feel, but really feels like Overwatch, according to them, with how it plays and feels. And they really love it. And they both, of course, like all things Star Wars. I think Star Wars is super fun and cool. They're not the weird critics that are out there. They are just enjoying it. And Hunters is just a fun little free-to-play multiplayer game set in that universe. And you can unlock stuff and buy stuff if you want to. So anyway, just wanted to mention, it's easy to make fun of. It kind of it's a live service game. Most of us, at least in our crew here, we're not usually too interested in those things, outside of a few of us dabbling in our Fortnites and Rocket Leagues from time to time. For the most part, we don't really jump into those games. Star Wars Hunters is apparently it's working for some folks. So I know my kids like it.
Completely forgot this was even a thing.
Yeah, it came out this summer, like in June. Yeah, or May or June, I think. So anyway, so that's it, guys. It's been a good show. I know we kind of got cut off there in the middle with some connection issues. I'm wondering if it's because of a storm that I'm actually hearing the thunder of in the distance. Maybe that's what did it for me. But anyway, thank you both for staying up. Kyle, I know you're sick. Go rest up, man. Feel better.
It was nice to get out of bed for a couple hours. So.
Yeah. Go take care of yourself. But thank you all for watching and listening, and we'll talk to you next week. Peace.